Hey, what's good, everybody? Hope you guys are doing fine tonight on this Sunday evening. It is March 3rd. It is 6 days away from somebody's birthday. Damn, I'm getting old. But yeah, I guess that's neither here nor there right now. Been a great weekend. I know a lot of you guys have had the chance to go out and enjoy the sun. It was like damn near 70 today. It was beautiful, but boy, that wind was kicking up. But we had some colder days coming up ahead. Cold, I mean like 50s, but we got a busy week coming up here, and it's not just the cooler weather. Obviously, we've got primary seasons, we got caucuses going on around the country. We've got a lot of things lined up here tomorrow night. I'm going to be hosting Hilario De Leon. We'll be talking with him, and that's going to be about 7 p.m. Central Standard Time. Tuesday, we're going to have our normal show here around 8. Then I'm going to have Stacy Klein as a guest. We're doing a pre-recorded episode, so I'll let you know when that'll launch. And then Thursday, we'll be interviewing Milwaukee mayoral candidate David King, so we'll be talking with him. But tonight, we had a primary, and I don't know, is this a case of the underdog winning, or what did you expect? It's DC. To talk about that, we're going to bring Orlando Owens on. What's going on, brother?
Hey, man, it is what it is, my brother. Good to see you.
Likewise, how's the world treating you?
Good, man. It's Friday night, getting ready to kick off the Joseph Project tomorrow morning. So I'll be in the bed a little early tonight. So, hey,
I know that feeling, trying to get that proper sleep.
It's our 151st class. So we rolling.
Oh, really? Now, for those people that don't know what's up, tell them what's up with the Joseph Project. Tell them about the history of it and what it's all about and what got you to 155.
So the Joseph Project is a collaboration that we started about 9 years ago between U.S. Senator Ron Johnson, Pastor Jerome Smith, myself, and Scott Bolstad on the Senate staff. We came together to collaborate this idea that kind of I worked in workforce development. Senator Johnson had the contacts to the companies and was always getting these complaints about not finding enough people to work. So when I first got hired with Senator Johnson, probably now at this point, almost 10 years ago, one of my first assignments was to, investigate this situation. And I remember, man, my first assignment was to go out to Sheboygan County, the CDC out there, which is I'm not CDC, but the Economic Development Corporation, the EDC. And they were pushing this idea of trying to get more high school students interested in manufacturing. And they wanted Senator Johnson to support a grant application they were applying for. And I'm there, man. Again, now, mind you, I've been on the job probably less than 3 months, probably less than 2 months. Mm-hmm. And my boss was like very clear, go take a lot of notes and be professional and, explain the senator's position. They're like, okay, no problem. And so the position of the senator was that he doesn't really sign off on people who are applying for federal grants. His position was, and it still is today, for the most part, that if you apply for a federal grant, there's a body that is created to judge all those proposals, and that's their job to do. His position was, if he leaned in and say, hey, pick this one over that one, in essence, he was saying, he's going to pick the winner, and,
he's picking winners and losers, and with something so close to home, it could look the appearance of inappropriate.
Yeah. Right. It wouldn't look like it was fair. And if he did it, my wife was on her way home, transferring. Okay. or I was on the way home. But and then if you did it for this one, what's the next one? You know,
Right.
and so he's like, initially I didn't understand, like, why won't you just sign the letter? But when I heard the rationale, like, yeah, that makes sense, because if you do it for one, then you gotta do it for everybody. And then how do you do that? And then we as the center staff, we'll be judging all these RFPs, all these proposals. We be stuck in the office always trying to judge who has the best mission. And I'm like, I don't want to do all that. And so Senator Johnson's was, I just don't do it. And he did it. The position was that it was doing when I first got hired on, it was doing Obama's administration. So he's like, do you really want a Republican signing your letter of endorsement? And not just a Republican, but this kind of flamethrower Republican who's not seen well by President Obama. Do you really want
a Tea Party, one of the biggest stars of the Tea Party movement?
You want him really signing your letter of endorsement? You probably don't want to have him on none of your paperwork. So just apply. So I go out here, man. The guy's telling me they got all these jobs in Sheboygan, Kohler and Rockline, and all these great companies. Now, mind you, I'm from Milwaukee. I spent about 15 to 18 years in workforce development. And so maybe this is an hour meeting, probably about the 30-minute mark. Ed, I lose my professional cool just a little bit. And I say, and I kind of slap the table like, hey, man, I got respect and love for the kids. But if you're telling me you got 2,500 openings in Sheboygan right now, I have men in Milwaukee who are being locked up for failure to pay child support because they don't have enough good paying jobs.
I'll tell you, that is, and I don't want to, I got to interrupt you here. That is one of the scariest things to see, where somebody gets locked up. I saw a dude one time, and I was in Illinois for this, but I saw a dude one time. He actually had came to court, had wrote a check to pay off his entire child support. Him and his ex didn't get along. And what happened? Because the ex said, we really don't get along. I just don't see how this can work out going in the future. Guy had just moved into a new home. Judge decided to give him some time. I'm like, are you serious? By literally telling him, no, you don't just walk into his court and just write a check like that. It's like, dude, it's paid. Like, it's current. All you gotta do is let it clear. Yeah, and it's amazing because that can screw up a lot of things. Your housing situation, your job, everything that goes along with that.
And in Wisconsin, bro, that's a felony.
Really?
It's a felony to pay. I got family members, bro, they've been locked up for failure to pay, and there are felons because of that. Forget economic times, forget whatever. Felons from a person.
Wow.
I got a few family members who are definitely not criminals like that, but failure because they didn't pay, they couldn't pay, whatever the reason.
Right.
They are now felons, bro. And so I take this idea, man, and prior to working for Senator Johnson, I worked for RPW and the RNC for 1 year. I was the state director of African American engagement for the state party. There were 3 pennants that I thought the Republican Party could connect with African Americans. One was school choice, second was the idea of faith, and the third was entrepreneurship. So I had these 3 subcommittees that I created, or at least was attempting to create. During that time, I was hired on the initiative under Ryan's previous called the Growth and Opportunities Project. It was an initiative that the RNC did. They call it the autopsy report of like why we lost, right? And they said that we need to be better in minority communities, young people communities, so all this breakdown, right? And Ryan's was like, he's going to put money behind it. We targeted 15 states to do it. One of those states was Wisconsin. Wisconsin was the last state to get a state director. That was me.
Right.
To do this work. And so at that time, my wife's uncle, who was a pastor, I talked to him about what I was doing. And I was like, could you get a group of pastors together about, talking about faith and faith issues, right? How do we align more with faith and those issues? He's like, sure, yeah, yeah, yeah. So he brings together like 5 to 7 pastors to come together for a meeting. One of the pastors he brings to the table is Pastor Jerome Smith. I had never met Jerome Smith before. So Pastor Smith was like one of 7 that's in this room. And we would have these weekly meetings about policies, principles, or whatever the case was going on with the Republican or just political issues, right? And how would I, talk about it from a political standpoint on the Republican side, whatever, right? Now that committee that I helped put together was probably the most active. I had an entrepreneurial committee.
Mm-hmm.
I had school choice. I put together, and it's interesting now when Brian Shemming, the guy who's running for Supreme Court, I put together one of the biggest school choice rallies in the city. That brought together like Leah. I think Leah Vukovich was running for something, but she was there. I had at least 7 to 8 local Republicans at a high school that we were talking about school choice, and the gym was packed. And one of the people that were there was Brad Shemming. At that time, Brad was running for state attorney general. And it was crazy, but that was one of my biggest accomplishments, being a very new staffer to the RNC and RPW, that I was able to put this thing together. And it was crazy because I don't know if you know Newman. Newman ran for Congress, I believe. And
I know the name, yeah.
And he had a chain of school choice. His son, which I think I still got his number today, and I should call him, was one of my biggest advocates in putting all this thing together. So my 2 biggest, and then I worked also. I had an entrepreneurial roundtable as well too, which Rebecca Clayfish came to help, because her big thing was, when she was lieutenant governor during that time, small businesses. So I put together a lot of small business roundtables. So she came to that. So I had these 3 really big committees that I thought I was doing some work. The most active one that I met with consistently was with the faith community. Pastor Smith was part of that group. So fast forward, it's a pilot program, and it's going to be what it's going to be. Ryan's already making some signals that he may be leaving the RNC, so we don't know what we're going to do about jobs in this initiative. So during that time, I end up meeting Tony Blando. Tony Blando is the former chief of staff for Ron Johnson. And I will tell anybody who wants to work for a politician, find out who is the chief of staff. The chief of staff is the one that does all the hiring and firing. I met Tony Blando at a Milwaukee County fair. We had a booth there. This is my first time ever meeting Senator Johnson. It was crazy, bro. So I was working for the state party, and I was working the booth. It was actually my time to leave. And the guy who organized the event at State Fair was like, hey, Senator Johnson's going to be here like in 15 minutes. It was unannounced. I was like, he was asking for people to volunteer to stay a little bit longer to help him kind of transition in to the fair. I was like, man, I'm getting ready to go, but I had never met Senator Johnson because I'd been there for like maybe probably like 4 hours. So I was like, my shift is over, man. I've been talking to people for a long time. But I was like, I've never met Senator Johnson before, so I'll help, right? So in my mind, Ed, I'm going to the parking lot, and I'm thinking there's going to be a lot of guys in black suits and, shades and earpieces, and the Eagles landed. The Eagles.
See, I thought that too, right? I thought, you'd have some like, ultra secret squirrel type of stuff that security, it's
like a big production, right?
No, and it's so funny because when you see some of these cats out there like that, they got a handler, a couple people to, that kind of speak for them, that, advocate, scheduler, that type of thing, no more than like 5. And if they do have security, maybe they're blended into the crowd, but yeah,
It
it ain't
was
like
less. It
that.
was less than that. So in my mind, I'm thinking I'm going to see the black vans pull up, 4 in a row. People jumping out security details saying the Eagles landed. The Eagles landed. I think it's going to be this big production. So I get out there to the parking lot, look, and this is like it's an old school like Lincoln LTD that pulls up.
Right.
I'm like, that's an old school Lincoln.
It ain't like a big old black Navigator with the
No,
windows all tinted out and government plates, nothing like
it's an
that.
old school LTD. I don't know if it was a rental at the time or what, but it was an old school LTD. I never forget it, bro. And Ron Johnson pulls up. He's driving himself. He pulls up, bro,
Yeah.
and shortly before he gets out the car, another little small, like combat car pulls up, and there's 2 people in there, Tony Blando and one other staffer.
Mm-hmm.
Tony Blando is ex-military. He retired from the military, so naturally he's probably packing whatever, right? So
Sure.
before they get out the car, I talk to Ron Johnson first. Ron gets out the car, pops the trunk, and I'll kind of walk up to him. I say, "Hey, Senator Johnson, I'm Orlando Owens. I'm here to help you." He was like, "Hey, call me Ron." I was already blown away that he was driving himself. I was already blown away that he had like an old school LTD. So I didn't know if it was a rental with his, but I think it was a rental. But nonetheless, I'm like, this dude was driving himself. He starts passing me boxes to carry in. So I grab some boxes. It's a couple of us out there to help out. The second car pulls up. This is Tony Blando and like one of the staffer. He gets out, and as we're walking to the State Fair Convention Center, Senator Johnson's in front of us, and people are talking to him, whatever. I'm walking with Tony Blando, and Tony Blando said, "Hey, I heard your name before." I was like, "Yeah." He's like, "Yeah, okay." And we're just talking and chopping up, and just like having this kind of real, I thought it was a benign conversation. And we got him to the booth.
Ain't no such thing. Ain't no such thing.
It isn't. What little did I know, it was an interview being happening right then and there. I never knew about it. So we're just talking small talk. So I get them to the booth. I say a little longer than I leave, man. Fast forward a year later, when the Growth and Opportunities Project is about to come to an end and we don't know how it's going to go, Senator Johnson's campaign team asked that I know some people that may want to take a position of a African American lady who was leaving, and so he's like, we want to fill that spot. We want to keep our very diverse team together. Do you know anyone that may be open? I said, you want some people to apply with a job, or you want somebody black? So the answer I got was
that's diversity, right?
The answer was
Yeah.
we want our team to always reflect the citizens of Wisconsin. So I was like, I can.
So you want somebody black?
I can read within a line. And so I was like, okay. And so I get a list together, right? And Senator Johnson, if you know his team, it is truly diverse. We have black people, we have Indian Americans, meaning from India. We have actually Native Americans on the team. We have women. We have military. We have stay-at-home dads. We have housewives. We have people who worked in a diversity. And his big thing was he always wanted to have a diverse team. He did. He wanted young people on the team. We got young people. So his Senate team is probably one of the most diverse teams you'll see in DC and probably also locally too, but it's very diverse.
And I'll tell you this, and present company excluded, there's a young lady on Senator Johnson's team, Amy. I can never remember her last name, but I absolutely love her. Every time I see her, she's just she's always like so cheery and everything. And then the poor little thing, she goes up and then she's talking and like, you can tell somebody who really doesn't like public speaking, but they go out and do it. But you just get her one-on-one. I mean, great conversation. She's got all the talking points down. And when I say talking points, it's not talking points like you're regurgitating them. It's like she actually does believe in the vision and the philosophy that Ron Johnson has put out. And I think most of Ron's staff is like that.
Well, it's the things we're talking about. It's the things Senator Johnson is talking about. So you're talking about Amy Rees. Amy's a Native American.
Yes.
Amy's a Native American. Keep talking to Ed. Go ahead.
No, I just think it's interesting because the left like to try to paint, individuals like Ron Johnson and other Republicans and conservatives as being racist. Where the reality is that we hire anybody who's the most qualified person. And of course, if you're looking at, for example, well, your team's not diverse enough. Well, no, take a look here, because if you see this team that we put together, it is from all walks of life within the state of Wisconsin, and it represents accordingly. Now, is it necessarily a Native American who is a liberal? Well, no, you're not going to get that from a Republican and or conservative politician. Go ahead and take it.
Honestly, we had one young man who was actually a liberal on the team.
How does that happen?
He was good at what he did.
Okay. You know what? You can't.
He was good at what he did. So he was actually, I want to say, he was part of Russ Feingold's team. He was somebody who was just good. I don't necessarily think he was a partisan, really hard partisan. I think he was a Hispanic young man. He was more concerned about the work being done irregardless. And he was someone who was part of Russ Feingold's team, honestly. I think his name was Manning, and he was there maybe, 3 years. But they liked his work, and he really wasn't a partisan like that. He was about the official office. Yeah. And so he was around for like 3 years. So,
I know you're going to have people like that too. It's like they may not necessarily be ideologically driven, or they separate their ideology versus what the work is, and they're just that damn good. Like you would be blessed to have someone like that on your team, regard. Like both sides are probably hunting for an individual like
right. That. So I don't think we actually, again, he was there for 3 years, and he was from Russ Feingold's team, I believe. And so it was just interesting that, like, I was born with, they kept a guy from the, and so, man, that's how the Joseph Project was kind of born. So I'm there, man, for like maybe three months, if that long. I had to sit down with this guy from Sheboygan. I tell them what the issues. I didn't tell them. I listened to what the issues were, and how the issues of Milwaukee kind of, maybe had a solution, and we had an issue that maybe they were the solution. And so I said, I'm a minister in the Church of God in Christ. So what's the issue that keeps a lot of people from getting jobs, good paying jobs? Transportation. I said, well, I know an organization that got vans that move maybe twice a week, Wednesday night for Bible study and Sunday morning for church. But the vans during the week just kind of sit there on the parking lot. So fast forward, I call Pastor Smith. I say, Pastor Smith, I work for U.S. Senator Ron Johnson now. He's like, you mean Tammy Baldwin? I was like, no, Pastor. Over from Ron Johnson. He said, you mean Tammy Baldwin? I was like, no. And so he laughs.
Why would you assume that?
So he laughs and he giggles. He's like, okay, so what's going on? I said, man, I got this idea. And so he's like, well, you all can meet at my church. I'm not going to be there, but my wife will let you in. So the idea was to bring Sheboygan's Economic Development Corporation to Milwaukee and present all these opportunities before this body of pastors and preachers and first ladies together to have them do their presentation. So we probably had about 10, pastors and people of faith in the room at Greater Praise Church. That's my first time meeting Pastor Smith's wife. She opened the door. And so they come in, man, and they give this presentation about all the jobs they have in Sheboygan, 4,200 jobs, 4,500 jobs unfilled. So the next step was for us to go up to Sheboygan to do a tour. At this point, Ron Johnson don't know much of what I'm doing because I'm a new staffer. I'm just playing with the idea. My direct supervisor, Scott Bowles, says, like, go with it, Orlando, go with it. So I'm like, okay. So we go up to Sheboygan. We're there probably about 5 hours. And they take us a Kohler. to Rockline, and I forget the other Nemac.
Mhm.
They take like the 3 companies. We toured. And on the way back from this tour, the Joseph Project is born. We're
Right.
on vans ourselves, and we kind of look around at each other, and we all like, are we going to do this? And we're like, yeah, we're going to do this. So on the way back, the Joseph Project is born. We don't know how, what, but it's born. We get back to Milwaukee. Now, Pastor Smith has one van. I used to call it Big Bertha. Big Bertha. It was our first van we had. And we needed money to make this thing happen. At this time, Senator Johnson still doesn't know what's going on. Pastor Smith writes a check. Some of the other pastors write a check. Even some of the Senate staff write a check. Me, myself, personally, I give about $5, $20. That's all I had.
Yeah, brothers are broke these days. It's a recession out here. I mean,
But it was
even back in the day, I mean, Obama, anemic growth. But yeah, I got you. I feel you.
But it was enough for us to pay for a driver and gasoline.
Mm-hmm.
And we put together our first class. The curriculum was pretty much made by Scott Bolstad and myself, because Scott had this whole, he's ex-military, so he had some ideas. I brought in the flavor because I worked in workforce development for like 15 years. So I've done economic workshops and, job readiness workshops. So I've done them before. Scott was a teacher with, not only was he military, but he also was a teacher for ROTC. So he had some workshops. So we put this thing together and we developed the first class. The first class was 12. I don't know if it was 12 or 15. I think it was 12. It was 12.
But let me interject here real quick. Let me interject because I got to do this quick announcement and a couple shout outs and let people know what's up here, because I'd love to know, going from class 1 now to 155, that's kind of a big deal. Just put that down. All right, good. All right, we got ENC Jordan in the chat room, Patty Bates from Barflies podcast. If you guys haven't checked them out, you need to, but I need to let you guys know first and foremost, we are broadcasting on Facebook. We are broadcasting on Facebook Live. We are broadcasting on YouTube as normal, and we are now broadcasting on DLive.com. Make sure you check that out. That is a decentralized platform that is out there where there's very little in terms of suppression, censorship, or anything else like that, much like Rumble, but I personally like their user interface a little bit better. We will be broadcasting on X here this week. So when we do these lives, so we'll be having 5 different platforms will be coming up on here. So with that being said, you class 1, 12 people, now you're moving on to 155.
Yep. Are you also going to be on Instagram?
I don't know.
Okay.
I'm tossing that one up in the air because I don't like the fact that it's only limited to 1 hour.
Gotcha.
And I'll typically I could do a 3-hour show by myself easy enough.
Sure.
So it's like,
do you have to, maybe you get more time if you have to buy a different package? I don't know.
But see, that's the thing. I don't want to be buying anything like that.
Gotcha.
Gotcha. I would much rather, it's like if I'm putting out content like that, maybe you should be paying me versus
maybe
me.
Like this. How about go with that 1 hour and see your responses, and then you can make another assessment of how much traction you got based on your 1 hour that you did. And at the 1 hour mark, you say goodbye to Instagram. Say, hey, all the Instagram people been great. Tune in over here. But and then kind of track your progress. If you see anything moving, then you might decide like, well, maybe I should invest or not invest.
Right.
Suggestion. That's all.
Well, between Instagram and then there's Twitch, and apparently you can broadcast on Kick, on Telegram. I don't like Telegram too much personally, just because there's like way too much porn out there. Like you start up a group and it just inundates it with all kinds of bots and spammers and stuff.
That's stupid.
Well, I mean, they're just trying to make money.
So your system that you are investing in, you can broadcast on all of those platforms?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Right now I'm limited to 5, but if I want to upgrade, I can have, I don't know, 12,
Wow.
but one thing at a time, like I said earlier, brothers are broke these days. It's a recession
Well,
out here.
man, that's pretty much the story, man. We get the first class, man, and all 12 people get Kohler is the first company. Kohler comes down and interviews all 12. All 12 get an interview. All 12 get hired. And it's a crazy story because at that point, one guy couldn't pass a drug test, but he would have got hired too. So 11 are hired on. At that point, we say, Senator Johnson, we've been working on the project. And I will never forget this, man. I had been there for probably, like at this point, like 3 months, maybe at this point. And Senator Johnson would always talk about this book called The Triumphs of Joseph. The Triumphs of Joseph. He wanted every staffer to read it. I hadn't had a chance to read it yet, but he wanted everybody to read this book called The Triumphs of Joseph. Triumphs of Joseph. And he called me, man, like on a Saturday. It was crazy because I'm on a Saturday. I'm not working. It's a Saturday. I'm so with my family, whatever I was on around the house. And Scott Bozak calls me. He's like, Orlando. I'm like, yeah, Scott, what's going on? It's Saturday. Stand by for a call. I'm like, stand by for a call. What in the world? Stand by for using this military.
It's like you give me a little bit more heads up. Stand by for what? What are you talking here? I'm not that important.
I'm a new staffer, and he's military. Like stand by for a call, so I don't peep the tone. Like stand by for a call. I'm like, all right. The phone clicks over, in the call ID it says Ron Johnson. At this point, Ed, I hadn't met Ron Johnson yet because it's just a schedule, and me being more of a field guy, he came right to the office, so I hadn't had a chance to even meet the senator yet face to face.
Right.
This dude calls me, bro. He's like, Orlando, I want to thank you for what you're doing. I was like, hey, Senator Johnson, it's all a team effort. He said, hey, call me Ron. And I want you to know, I appreciate what you're doing. So at the time, I'm getting over a head cold. And so I got a little bit of a sniffle left, and I'm still kind of getting over it. Ron Johnson is sniffling. What happened was during that first class, our communications person recorded everything visual, and she has sent the video to Ron. Ron sees the video. And this is our rawness. This is before we went live. This is before we really, had a name. Because even on the way home, somebody, and the video person was there. Her name was Renee Riddle, and she said, "What is that?" And she was like, "What are you guys going to call this thing?" It was like, "We don't know." And she said, "You guys should call it the Triumphs of Joseph." He said, she said, "You should call it the Joseph Project." I'm like, yeah. He said, "This is like exactly what happens in the book." I'm like, huh? Well, mind you, I didn't read the book yet, so I'm like, okay. So she's like, yeah, you should call it the Triumphs of Joseph. So Renee had recorded everything. We're still at this kind of the experimental stage. We don't have everything worked out yet. Ron needs to be part of this because he has to give this thing infrastructure and form. So this is kind of like our I don't want to say beta, kind of our trial, our test trial. But
it's the beta release. Absolutely. Before you do a test run before you go to the main net.
And Ron gave a lot of insight on how to fix this thing, or how to make it better. So we wasn't at our stage. We wasn't ready to roll it out as a Joseph Project just yet. So we just had these ideas. So he saw the video, and it was raw. It was uncut. And he's like, he's sniffling on the phone, right? So I'm like, maybe he's getting over a cold. I was getting over one, so it was going around. And so I said, Ron, hey, all teamwork, all effort. We one team. So listen, no, I want to thank you personally for what you did. This is just the right thing to do. And if it needs anything, just let me know. I was like, okay. He said, listen, Orlando, let me tell you something. This video has moved me and my wife. said, I wouldn't be, sniffling for nothing. This moved us. Whatever you all need, let me know. I will help to make this thing even better.
Right.
The next call he made was pretty much the same call he gave me to my deceased past friend, Pastor Smith. From that moment, Ron Johnson leaned in and we started brainstorming and made the Joseph Project what it is today. 9 years later, 3 different locations, traveled the country with maybe 4 different senators who wanted us to bring the project to their state, multiple companies. And Ron Johnson has been at the tip of this thing from the beginning, from opening doors to meeting companies to just meeting the candidates came through, meeting the resources that have been funneling us people towards. It's been crazy, man. It's definitely one of my biggest accomplishments in my life that I ever did.
Well, I tell you, it's really important to think about this too. You hit on it earlier. You had an interview without knowing you were having an interview. And I don't think a lot of people realize that every time you have what's a so-called casual conversation, you're being felt out, you're being checked out. People are deciding whether or not they want to work with you or not, or whether you're trustworthy, sus, whatever.
And
they are checking you out.
That was crazy itself, because even at the time when I was still working for RPW, I gave a couple names of candidates. I'd never heard. So how I saw work for Ron was crazy, right? So I knew his campaign manager because working for RPW, we shared the same building. And I just happened to, my wife actually was like talking to me and like, what you gonna do? Are they gonna take up the project? I said, I don't know what's gonna happen, because it was a pilot program. And Ryan had already said it looks like he was gonna be leaving. So I didn't know where I was gonna get a job. So I called Ron's staffer, his campaign side staffer. And I asked her, I said, hey, had you guys, how did it go? He's like, yeah, we didn't find anybody. I said, oh, okay. And the lady was like, why you asked, Orlando? You interested? And I was like,
there's always room for employment opportunity. I mean,
I think I might be. She said, well, let me get you to Tony Blando. The same guy, the same name that I heard like a year earlier. I was like, I met him before.
Absolutely.
She's like, yeah, he's the chief of staff. Tony Blando calls me like a day later, man. It's like, man, you should come down to the office. And I meet them at the federal office. Tony meets me in the parking lot. And as we go into the parking lot, he's kind of just talking to me. And we go up to the elevator and we're on the floor. It's like, listen, you got the job. I just want to see how you're gonna, connect with the staff in here. I was like, what? Like, yeah, the job is yours if you want it. He said, well, we're gonna go in here. There's like 7 staffers in this room, and I want to see how you connect with them or whatever. But the job's yours if you want it, Orlando. It was the weirdest interview I ever had in my life. It was the weirdest. We were just talking, dude. We just wasn't nothing about particular. I mean, we were talking politics. So I go into this room. I meet some of the staffers, man, and probably got the job. I got the job, right? This is another thing. And maybe one day I'll write a book or a memoir. Like in my first 2 weeks on the job, Obama is trying to get the votes for Loretta Lynch.
Oh, yeah.
Black woman, first woman period to be the attorney general. Tony Blando calls me. I'm like 2 weeks on the job, bro. Orlando, Ron wants to support the president in electing or appointing this lady. What's your thoughts? So I'm blown away. And I say, listen, I don't know how well it's going to play out with the base, because I'm a base guy. But why do you guys want to do it? And this is what he told me. He said, "Listen, Ron is not interested in making a big fight like this over this appointment." He said he believes that a president should get to pick his own team, his or her own team. He said we got bigger fish to fry and bigger debates to have. If he wants to appoint her, he's not going to get in the way of her. And I was like, you know what? Tell Ron to vote for her. Sure enough, Ron voted for her to confirm of Loretta Lynch to be, because he's like, president should have his right or her right to pick their own team. Let them have it. We're going to have a fight, just not today.
Right. So essentially picking his kitchen cabinet.
Right. He was picking his cabinet. It's like, let him. It's just, she had okay, references or whatever, right? So Ron was like, man, we got way too many battles to have, and then this not gonna battle this one. So that's my story, man. 151st day, 150 classes later, we're still doing it.
Mm-mm-mm. So I put in the ticker, if anybody wanted to throw some topics out for discussion, and of course the recall Voss thing came up here, and Jay Schroeder wants to give my opinion on this. How about talk about the merits of recalling Robin Voss, and how the state budget has went up $33 billion since he was speaker. Don't be afraid of the big bad Voss. All right, first off, not big afraid of anybody. Voss, you, nobody. Let me put it like this. You're asking my opinion. Orlando, you may be different on this. I think the recall Voss effort is the dumbest freaking thing you can do right now. You have set up things in such a way, with Wisconsin being in the forefront on the national stage, to make us look like a bunch of divided idiots. I mean, essentially, it's kind of true. But you're carrying over the BS from 2022, moving on. You got your asses handed to you in 22. And granted, Adam Steen almost won the primary, but almost is like horseshoes and hand grenades. It don't count. Okay. And well, horseshoes and hand grenades, it does count, but almost didn't work in that particular case. And then he decided to try to mount a write-in election. Yeah, that didn't work out. And by the way, how's everything working out for Steen and his campaign and those there close to that? Got to follow up on that story. And I'd always going to call anybody in question. If you're getting funding for Democrats, I call you into question. It's kind of like Nikki Haley. California Governor Gavin Newsom said that Nikki Haley was perhaps one of the best surrogates for them in talking against Trump. If you're working with Democrats, when we're teetering, we are losing the majorities in the state house, in the legislative body, and the state senate, I have a problem with you. If you can't accept the fact that you tried to take down the king and the king won. Now, I'm not saying I trust Robin Voss. I'm not saying I do like Robin Voss as a person. I get along great with him. Anytime I see him, he's acknowledged me. I've acknowledged him. I was at a field trip with one of my kids, and he had a staffer bring a state flag of Wisconsin to me as a gift. And I will say that in full. Now, does that mean that he's curried favor to me to the extent where I'm not going to talk bad about him? No. I will call him out of court. I will call anybody out. I don't care if it's Ian C. Jordan, Orlando, my children. I don't care who you are. I'm going to call balls and strikes as I see them. And honestly, at this point, this idea of recalling Robin Voss in the most important election cycle, once again, you recall him, okay? Fine. Who are you running to replace him? And are you so foolish, so naive, so stupid to actually think that this person, if they do beat Robin Voss, is going to be the Republican that's going to be the America First, impeach Megan Wolf, and everything else like that? Do you think he's going to be the speaker? Or do you think that person is going to be the low man on a totem pole? I don't think you people have thought this out. And honestly, anybody who signed on to that effort, anybody who's been involved in that, I'm calling you a suspect. That's me. Orlando?
Yeah, I think it's an interesting topic. I think it's an interesting situation that the people of that district are, you know, they have a different opinion on Robin Walsh down there. I don't live in the district, but I understand. He's the speaker of the entire state. So I guess my position would be for wrong or right. They have the you know they have the constitutional issue to raise a recall. Don't know how successful it's going to be, but the people of that district, I guess, are willing to go through the process of possibly removing them through a recall. And I'm at this
Well,
point, I
okay.
guess. Go ahead.
Let me ask this here. So I like looking at different philosophies of governance. And when it comes to the Speaker of the Assembly, right? There is, whoever that speaker may be, in this case, it's Robin Voss. He is a representative from the 63rd district. So he represents those people. Robin and I got into a pissing contest. Oh God, this was 3-4 years ago. And I know he would not remember it. We went back and forth. I was calling him out. And his response to me at one time through a DM was, hey, I don't represent the entire body of Wisconsin. I represent the 63rd. My counter argument was, well, you are the Speaker of the Assembly, so therefore you are answerable to everybody within the state of Wisconsin. I maintain that to this day because as the Speaker, you have a great deal of influence, and especially as a Speaker or somebody who's done this for so long, you do have a great deal of influence on all the Assembly people, especially on the Republican side, or if you're a Democrat, on the Democrat side. That being said, though, I do understand his point. I was very amateurish at that time as I called him out, and he blocked me, which is interesting because like a year later, he unblocked me. We had a conversation, very cordial. I apologized for being out of line, as did he. And ever since then, like I said, I'll call him out as needed. But I think at this particular point, trying to recall him as we're going to, you don't have a plan. Who are you running? Are you giving the opportunity for a Democrat to come in there and take that seat? Now, according to the maps, the 63rd is not going to be the 63rd as it is anymore. I will be interested to see how that plays out.
I don't know, and maybe that'd be a good show to have. Having some of the people who are organizing the recall, if they have a candidate, maybe that's something that would be a good topic for tonight to bring them on and kind of go through their rationale and their thinking. I didn't quite understand it myself for the recall because I thought an election was coming up, but after giving it some thought, I kind of saw why.
Right.
Oh, that's why. Recalls and special elections, well, as I say, special elections typically have a very low turnout. And having low turnout may favor their efforts better because a lot of people may not show up for that. And if they are trying to partner with liberals or moderates or whoever, then they may be able to actually pull this off. The problem, and I don't know that if it's going to be a runoff, if it's only going to be two candidates, if it's going to be just the one other Republican that will run against Robin, or there'll be a Democrat in there, and who with this new 63rd, I don't know, like you said, how the maps break. Is it more liberals now in the district now versus Republicans? So it's a whole thing. I don't know. I guess I'm observing what's going on. So I don't know. I look at it from the standpoint of people in that district, or some people in the district. I don't even know if they even got enough signatures at this point. So we could be talking about nothing right now.
Yeah, and that's the question, of course, is do they have enough signatures? Number one, and I have to wonder, are they at the point where there's like fatigue, fatigue from all this, Robin Boss hate, fatigue from recalls, fatigue from just a constant election cycle? Because I think the general people, the general public at large, they do get into a period of voter fatigue, news fatigue. And I think that's why the average normie, the NPC, I do think that's why they don't care. That's why they take a NIMBY approach to a lot of things, because if they were politicos like us here and those of you guys watching, you'd be like, yo, this is too much. I'm gonna sit here and watch 90 Day Fiance. I'm gonna watch some other train wreck show, because you know what can I do?
Right?
Hey, by the way, Joe, I don't know if you saw it. Yeah, buddy. Daddy got new ink.
Got a who?
Daddy got new ink.
Okay. You showing Joe?
And by the way, Joe told me about the Cybertruck. He gave me some information. So I'm like, I don't want him to repo a Cybertruck for me. I want a Kia Sportage. That's what I want.
So yeah, man, I don't know.
Oh, I'm waiting for the hate, by the way. At some point, I'm going to be called establishment within this next, I say, 2 to 36 hours. I'll be called establishment on Robin Voss's payroll, that I,
So
take
are
your
you
pick.
against? So are you against? Are you against the recall itself, or just because of the timing and everything having, because you remember now Scott Walker became county executive behind the recall.
Oh, yes.
So are you against the recall concept, or just like how this plays out overall? Just timing is everything, and kind
I'm
of.
against the recall for a couple of different reasons. One, it makes Republicans and conservatives in the state of Wisconsin just look bad. I'm against it because, well, again, if you're going to recall him, where's your plan B? I'm against it because you're getting funded by Democrats. That, you know, don't tell me the enemy of my friend is the enemy of my enemy is my friend. That doesn't hold water here, because again, if you're going to run somebody, you want somebody who's going to be a MAGA Republican. You want somebody who's going to be, extremely pro-life to the nth degree. You want somebody who wants to recall Megan, or not recall, to replace, Megan Wolf. You want somebody that would have overturned the 2020 election legislatively, which you cannot do. Well, that person's not going to win your district, because the Democrats that are voting against Robin Voss aren't going to vote for your Republican candidate. No matter what deal you may strike, you might as well just hand it over. Red carpet, give them a nice little throne room, the whole bit.
Well, I know this.
There is no win here for these people.
I would say that's a possibility for the recall people. If you are partnering and trying to broker these deals with moderate Democrats, there's nothing holding them back from running their own candidate. And if it's going to be a primary, meaning that the two top vote getters of the Republican side, or the one top vote getter of the Republican side, and the top vote getter on the Democratic side,
right?
You who has the best chance of winning against Robin Voss? Because really, it's will Republicans break toward a Democrat candidate to run against Robin if they meet in the general election, or if it's only going to be just the one Republican running, then it's all about the primary, right? So yeah, I think there's a lot to say about Robin Voss, and unfortunately, I know they're doing I don't know if they in your part of the state, Ed, but they're dueling commercials, dueling Twitter, Twitter phone on Twitter X commercials that are out there on both sides,
Mm-hmm.
and it's it's heating up. I'll say that it's heating up.
Well, it's funny to me because it's like I really don't have an opinion one way or the other regarding Robin Voss in this sense, but it's like the more I see the unhinged nature of the anti-Voss individuals, the more it's like, all right, I feel like I just need to go out there and stand up for Robin because, well, he's not a conservative. The hell he's not. He's got like a 94% rating from CPAC. Now, is he sus in, like, for example, well, I didn't know he was going to be somebody else is running in a particular election. Well, Robin knows things. Things don't happen without Robin Voss's knowledge. That's just facts. Okay. So for whatever, you could certainly say something negative about him, but if you look at the coalitions he's built, the fact that he's, we have the assembly that we do, sometimes you got to take the good with the bad. That being said, though, Wisconsin right now has put out this article, and I want to go through this real quick. And by the way, there are going to be people that are going to comment talking about, oh, it's Wisconsin ragged right now. Shut up. Not interested in hearing you bag on them. And by the way, now we'll stand in defense of Wisconsin right now. They're doing the things that other people want to do, but don't have the ability to do. I said it, it's facts. So let's break this down here. Let's break this down. Wisconsin right now writes the article here, and let's see if we have who wrote this. All right, just simply breaking news. Recall Voss, Walworth County Dems. We would really like to help. We really love your help. Democrats supporting this. And by the way, there is a theme here. Nikki Haley won Washington, D.C., the primary they had here today. How many Republicans do you think live in Washington, D.C.? I mean, honest question. Those of you guys in the audience, can you give me a number? I'm going to say 5. 5 voting Republicans. How many Democrats do you think voted for Nikki Haley in Washington, D.C.? I'd say a lot. But let's get back to the story here. All right, come on. I upgraded my computer and it's moving slower than... Okay, there we go. It's the recall Robin Voss effort, Democrat PSYOP, to help Democrats seize control of the legislature and turn Wisconsin into California. The failed candidates behind the effort to recall Republican Assembly Speaker Robin Voss are bragging that Democrats are involved in the recall effort. They say Democrats are excited to help Voss, or to oust Voss. They told a Democratic county party that they would really love your help, Wisconsin right now has documented. In other words, the recall organizers are counting on the Democrats joining their effort to get enough signatures against Voss. They're trying to oust the Republican leader from a district that won't even exist in a few months, right as his redistricting talents are needed by Republicans more than ever before to retain control of the legislature under Tony Evers' partisan legislative maps. The recall organizers aren't even hiding it. They're bragging about it openly. Recall organizer Matt, I can't pronounce that last name. I know him as a different name, but we'll just call him Matt. And this is Wisconsin Right Now's words. A failed Burlington candidate and pest exterminator. Why did they have to put pest exterminator? Why do they have to talk about his job? Who has labeled Voss trash, wrote on Facebook, $8 per valid signature you can legally get, and a bonus of $500 for highly motivated individuals. Okay, we know all that, and I'm not going to get into the I actually like Matt as a person. I get along real good with him. But the Walworth County Democrat Party made it very clear that they're willing to help recall Voss' effort. What do you think? And I know you know Matt as well, too.
I know Matt.
He goes to, I'll put his name out because he's very public on Facebook in particular, Matthew Allen.
I'm terrible with names. I ain't gonna lie to you, so I see his face, but
well, you probably know you probably know him through his postings and stuff on social media.
Yeah.
But
I know his name.
Like
I know his name from the standpoint I've seen him before, but I can't
right.
put a face for the name. But again, I'm going to defer because I see ENC Jordan in here, and
what do we got?
He believes that I think Robin Voss is the reason why I lost my race. My position with Robin is one.
Where do you say that? Where do you say it?
Well, he said it before. It's not in the chat now, and I
okay.
never addressed.
Let's bring that up. Let's bring that up, and let's talk about your primary, and let's talk about that, because I think we could put to bed a lot of the accusations and the nonsense, because I think a lot of people don't. There are people that think they know, and no offense to you, Ian, but you don't know. But let's talk about this.
Sure. So, I mean, I've been a supporter of Robin Voss, and and I admit that I have a little bit of a political lack sometime in local politics. So I'm not from Racine, so I don't know what's going down in Racine, Kenosha. But in my conversations with Robin, I thought he was a decent dude, and that's kind of where I've always known him. I didn't know some of the concerns until I started, going to Racine more often, when I started running, and that's when I heard some of the undercurrents of there were some things going on. Now, I'm not saying that I always supported his positions, but I get it. I saw like the legit concern when you go there. There's clearly a divide, and there are some who supported my campaign, and there were some that supported John Liver's campaign.
Yep. And in full disclosure, I know both, of course, Orlando Owens. I know, of course, John Liber. I have spoken to both of you on a personal level, so no hate coming anywhere. I'm just we're talking facts as we see them, and of course through our experience.
Sure. So I met Robin, got close to Robin when I ran for state rep, because Robin is one of the head runners for the RAC program, which helps candidates run for office. And I was allowed to come to some fundraisers with donors, and there was an issue with some of the donors there that I saw. I didn't agree that some of these donors who were there in that room, I took a stance against them, and I was like, why are these individuals here? Why are they here in this room as a donor class, and why are they at our state convention? And Robin gave me his position on it. I didn't agree with him, and that's fine. And we're men enough to agree to disagree. I didn't have any, deeper feelings about it. It was like, yeah, I don't rock with this. And a few legislators knew what I was talking about, and they, kind of took a middle of the road approach. That was cool. I made my, I spoke my piece, and I was done with it. During that time, there was a guy named Chris. Forget Chris's last name, but he was also a blogger. He did a whole story of a candidate that I ran against. Her name was Dora Drake, and how Dora Drake had some dark money in her race. Some of the donors that were there in that room funded Dora Drake's campaign. They used Sherwin Hughes's organization that then, pushed the funds to Dora Drake, who basically were campaigning and getting money from Republicans to run against a Republican, and gave money to a Democrat. And I didn't like that.
Right.
I said, that's bogus. I got to raise money, and these individuals are, raising money against or asking money from people that I got to ask the same money from to run against me, that were, and so I didn't like how it was getting down. I didn't like that at all. And I made my position very clear.
Right.
But again, I didn't think much of it. I left it alone. I said my piece and I was done with it. The guy ran the article and kind of put a light to it. He kind of did some of the Gateway Pundit type writings. He talked about her, Jason Fields, and some of the donors from the Republican side that helped some of these Democrats, which I ran in the Democratic area. So, which
But
Democrat?
it was, when you're running for assembly, it was an uphill battle.
Exactly.
And by the way,
Uphill.
and I want to call people out on their BS. Wait, we are entering hour 2. Do you know what hour 2 means?
You got to say goodbye to your Instagram followers.
I can tell them to go pound sand, and I can say the no words. Here we go.
So I voiced my opinion. I get it. Lobbyists are lobbyists.
Right.
They pick side. They sometimes they bet on both sides. And so
they go where the money goes. Yeah, and that's facts. But okay, go on.
So I didn't like that. I made my push or whatever, and that was it. It was a big push. Individuals are upset about the article that this young man had wrote. He named names in the article. I think I was in the article. He talked about the educational advocacy group that was in the article that was asking funds from Republicans to give to a Democrat to run against a Republican. So it made a little waves, but it didn't.
And there has been an accusation about that, statewide, where certain Republican or conservative leading organizations would donate to Democrats to oust a particular individual. I've heard it. They're allegations. That is what it is. Now, that being said, let's simplify this here, because here's some areas that we could potentially call Robin Vos out on. John Leiber. John Leiber, he ran for the treasurer's office here in the state of Wisconsin, just as you did, against you. And you were one of 3 candidates. There was Jeanette Duchesne, who bowed out for personal reasons. Then, Jeanette is a wonderful person, love her to death. And what ended up happening was it was the 2 of you. And I know that I'm sorry?
I like Jeanette.
No, Jeanette's wonderful. Now, that being said, it became, you were the odds-on favor, because at state convention that year, I mean, you were unanimously endorsed from the floor, and you were everywhere. You went to every single county. Close to the only person who worked harder than you was Eric Toney. Eric Toney and Pat Teston literally teleported to every county. Like, I think Eric Toney was the only person who touched every single county, but you were pretty damn close.
And I got the endorsement also of the Patriot groups.
Absolutely. And that's extremely important, because you have the Patriot groups out there, the freedom fighters, the Tea Party movements, those type of things. They all endorsed John Lennon Owens. But this was a lesson in what people think their influence is versus what it really was. And we can say a number of things about John Leiber. And John, if you're checking this out, if you're listening at some point, somebody, brings this up to your attention, please do understand I'm giving my perceptions. I presented it to you face to face. Robin Vos knew John Leiber was running. Now, whether he disclosed that to you or anybody else, it doesn't matter. John Leiber was a member of the Racine County Republican Party's board. So for Robin Vos to not know that, that's nonsense. Because I do believe that, if there's an individual from his own personal county running for any particular office, especially a statewide office, it has to be known and blessed. That being said, maybe he didn't want to say anything to you or anyone else.
And definitely he has that right. And I didn't want to put Robin in a bad position. It was like, yeah, Orlando, I know both of you guys, so I get it.
Right?
He may have felt like Man, Orlando, you putting me in a spot to say who
And
I'm.
it may be simply as, I like you, I know you, but like, oh boy, is representing from my county. Now, of course, there's the controversy whether or not is he a Racine County resident or is he a Dane County resident?
So, and I get it. I even had my own testimony, and this is what E.N.C. Jordan and some of the people that follow him feel. As a journalist, as he says he claims he is, he clearly
Wait. When did we become journalists?
Or commentators, I guess. I'll leave it there.
I'm just saying. Okay, let me throw it out here. There's only one organization that is online that are journalists.
Okay.
And this is in the state of Wisconsin. That's Wisconsin right now. It is not E.N.C. Jordan. News Undone is not journalism. And come at me with what you will. It's opinion.
Okay. His opinion.
The Ed Delgado show
is
not journalism. It is opinion. The Drayton Report. What's the other one? Drayton Report.
Gateway Pundit.
Gateway. Oh, don't get me started on them. Charlie Sykes and the so-called Bulwark.
BSR. Dan BSR.
Oh, Badger State Resistance is a straight up opinion. There's another one here. It's not the Rundown Live, but they're also more opinion than anything else.
And there's nothing wrong with that. Let me be clear.
Absolutely. And by the way, the Rundown Live is closer to actual journalism than opinion, because most of the stuff they do is opinion. But when they're on the field, in particular, Kriston T. Harris, shout out to him, shout out to the Rundown Live. The bulk of the footage from the Kyle Rittenhouse trial of the incident that happened that night was from Kriston T. Harris. With the exception of Wisconsin right now, everybody else that has a platform in Wisconsin, we're opinion. We are not journalists. And for any of us to say that we're journalists is garbage. Anybody who comes at you and says they're a journalist, unless they're presenting true journalists or, conservative leaning journalism, liberal leaning, the Wisconsin Independent. Now I'm going to talk about this here at a later show here. Complete garbage, but it is liberal journalism. None of us, Orlando Owens, you give your opinion, and you're very forthright about that.
Says my opinion.
Right.
That's the thing for E.N.C. Jordan, and I know you're watching because I've seen you already in the chat room. For someone who gathers opinion, you clearly didn't cover my race, and I get it. My race wasn't a big race; it's bottom on the totem pole. It's not it wasn't really sexy. We don't really do a whole lot. But if you did cover my race, I was always forthcoming with my testimony of the things and my challenges that I had. Even before the JS Online, when it's talking about Orlando had these financial issues and he lost.
Well, let me throw this here. I'm gonna throw this here. To sit here and bag on anybody for having a bankruptcy, well, number one, please do read your Constitution, because that is not codified in law. It is codified in the Constitution.
Right.
And, if you're a Trump supporter and you want to bag on somebody for having a BK, hey, man, you're God, King, Emperor. And don't worry. I'm going to vote for Trump in the primary. I just need to say what I got to say. He's had multiple bankruptcies. Mm-hmm. And you know what? Your boy right here, I've had two.
And again,
it is there to help you restart.
Again, I got it from Mark Belling, from Dan O'Donnell. Maybe that wasn't a race for you, Orlando, because the connotation gives that impression. Because the title treasurer, we all know that the treasurer in our state and the Secretary of State don't do a whole lot. And I took that. Even Mark Belling said I can't really come down on either one of these guys. John Labor had his own financial situation. He had an eviction himself.
Absolutely.
So again, Ian, and that's what I was saying with Ian. If you actually done the work and followed the campaign like Ed Delgado did, you would have heard my speech when I was very open to my testimony. I talked about it. That was one of the first things I said. Let me set the record straight. I have been through challenges in my life, and that freedom gave me the ability to talk to people. Like, I understand people going through struggle. I understand that things sometimes fall apart, but I also understand the redemption of Jesus Christ in your life and the greatness of this country. What Ian C. Jordan did went on several platforms, rehashed a story, and just kind of like, and then again, I'm not mad at it, but I'm disappointed because I'm like, well, bro, I've talked about my testimony. I've talked about the challenges I've had in my life, and I guess he doesn't understand. Like, he had his own challenges. Like, you ever heard that story? Or like, when you live in a glass house?
Oh, absolutely.
And that's kind of where this whole idea that somehow I think that Robin Voss has something to do with my loss. No, I lost.
No, Robin. The thing is, though, Robin knew Lyra was running. Now, could he have handled it better? Certainly, absolutely.
It was awkward.
That all being said, though, we can sit here and talk about the nuance and all the other little things in there, right? But really, at the end of the day, and there was a lawyer that I talked to last week, and she's running for a judge in her, I want to say it's her county. No, it's her city, and she's second on the ballot. And she knew the importance of that, and she told us straight up she's probably going to lose because the first person on the ballot is going to win on a lower ticket. And I was telling her, it's like, you do understand April 2nd is the Wisconsin primary for president, so it's going to be really high turnout. So, and we talked about that. I'm like, you need to get them signs up everywhere, do your thing. But in the 22 election cycle, we know it's going to be a lower turnout, though it was pretty heavy overall, obviously, with the governorship at stake. The problem was, though, for the treasurer's race, everyone cares about the governor. Nobody cares about lieutenant governor because they kind of ride hand in hand. Let's see here. Secretary of State. Some people care.
Doug LaFollette made that race because of his name.
Doug LaFollette made that race eternally his because he's like 3,000 years old. Treasurer's race. Nobody cares. More importantly, though, it was on the back of the ballot, if you remember correctly. And if you are the normal Republican voter who's not informed, you consistently vote Republican, whoever's at the top, I'm going to do my duty and vote Republican, and I'm going to fill in the first person there because I don't know any of these names. And that's what ended up happening. And it was really that simple as to why Orlando lost. It wasn't because of bankruptcy. It wasn't because of scandal. It wasn't. Nobody knew it. Nobody. And if you went to any, most of the county parties around the state, and I did, nobody was bringing up John Lyra's name. Now, John will tell you
he's the luckiest man ever.
Well, I said that, and he disagreed with me adamantly, and I respect his opinion, because John said, he's like, well, I did all this work. I went talking to all these people. I'm like, but nobody brought your name up, bro. And John and I, during last year's convention, we were literally talking up in the promenade for a good 30 minutes. And it was funny because, he saw me coming. I saw him coming. And we recognized each other right away. And, shake hands. How you doing? Congenial. And it's like, yeah, I heard what you said, now stand by it. Well, can we have I told him, like, can we have a conversation as grown folk? He's like, yes, indeed we can. So we did. and we agreed to disagree, but at the same time, it was cordial enough where it's like, you know what? I'm not hating on John, not at all.
Yeah.
But we do have a different perspective on this because
Sure.
for a lower statewide ballot, statewide ballot ticket,
So
if you're
my,
top,
so my
if you're the
concern-
top, if you're at the head of that vote, right?
right.
Between 1, 2, or 3 people or more, they're filling in your circle.
Again,
Or the Dominion voting, it's not filling in, is it?
so my
Oh,
thing
sorry,
was,
my bad.
my thing was, I was very clear on the campaign trail. Never misled anyone about my own challenges or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
My concern of where me and John differed is like, John, you didn't really have to repost this information. You didn't have to run with this article or whatever, but you reposted it. And
Yeah.
so that's where I kind of say, well, that's kind of low, bro. I've talked about this the entire time on the trail, but hey, it's public information. Just like your eviction is public information, right?
Mm-hmm.
I never talked about his eviction. He talked about that. And I thought it was kind of like, all right, man, if that's the way you want to run it, that's cool. And, and it was what it was. I believe there were some who may have been turned off by it, but I think more people could relate to it. I've been at meetings and it was brought up, and people were like, okay, I can dig it. You've been through some challenges, no doubt, and it wasn't the best outcome. You battled back, and they understood what I was running for and how we didn't have a lot, whatever, to really do. But again, that's my thing with Ian, was that he tried to make something that was an old. I ain't ran for office over 2-3 years. I mean, who am I?
Yeah.
So that's fine. He can, and there's others who will say it, and I'm fine with that, man. It's my testimony. Just like if Ian, he talks about like his own his testimonies. Again, I never held it against the brother, and I'm not anyone to throw stones at anybody because I know I fall pretty short of the glory. I know that, and that's the thing for me, that it's okay. But that's kind of how, this whole Robin Voss thing is supposedly. Robin didn't do anything in my election. I just merely said what I said when I ran for state rep.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't like some of the people that were in the room, and I told I think it's Fitzgerald to his face that I didn't like him.
Scott Fitzgerald.
Yeah, he's the former, former, I think, powerful senator in the state. He now works for one of these educational, organizations. And I told him, I said, I don't like you that you're here because you guys gave money. And he was very clear, like, yeah, we did. And you're supposed to lose, Orlando. I said, oh, okay. I know
you're supposed to lose. Wait. You're supposed to lose
because of where I ran, because the numbers just don't bear it out.
Wait. Okay. You're supposed to lose. This is the problem I have with Republicans as a whole. You're supposed to lose. So I gave money to the lesser Democrat versus the more liberal. What are you doing to flip this? And this is what pisses me off about Republicans as a whole. Oh man.
Well,
we have 66% voting in our county Republican. So we don't have to do anything. Why aren't you fighting for 67? Why aren't you fighting 8? Why aren't you fighting for 69? Oh, you're okay with acceptable losses to 64, 62. See, when you go up, you do it 1 point at a time. When you go down, it goes 2, 4, 10 points.
So that didn't bother me too much, Ed, even when he said that to me. I knew.
Yeah. I feel you, though.
I understood the race I was in. Ed, you're doing a little buffering right now, too.
Yeah, I saw that.
So it didn't bother me too much of people's opinion. I knew that in the race I got into, that all the candidates in that class, and let me be clear, I was honored. Ed, can you hear me?
I do.
Your screen is still showing you talking, but I was honored and humbled to run in the class of 2020. I want to say it was a 2020 that I ran in, of one of the biggest diverse classes of candidates. We had Jews running in that race. Women running in that race. We had pro-union guys running in that race. We had pro-cannabis guys running their race. You know, Senator Johnson had pushed really hard that every seat should always have a competitor. And we took it to heart. We knew what we were up against. You know, we knew it was going to be hard trying to raise funds for races that we supposed to lose because there's, you know, you're running in deep blue cities. And for individuals who continue to say that I lost 4 races, you know, I ran 3 of them in the city of Milwaukee. And so there's a really good chance I wasn't going to win those. But these are the same individuals who never put their name on a ballot at all. They'll tell you they can throw a ball further than you can, but they never say, you know, that they would never squat up and put on some pads and get on the field. So that's my thing with you know, Ian, who wants to highlight the negative, like, well, he lost 4 races. Ian hadn't put his name on any ballot.
And bear with me here. Yeah, I'm seeing a massive delay. Okay, there we go. There we go.
Did you figure out what's going on? Okay, so
I had a delay over here, and things were I was frozen on video, and I had to shut down a couple of different other. I have way too many tabs open on my computer. You gotta see how many tabs I have on my phone.
Sure.
But I had to shut some because it's drawing from the RAM.
So let's fast forward, man. Let's, you know, nothing. I'm done with that situation, man. And again, I'm always a person, as a minister myself, who's far from perfect. I'm always willing to, you know, understand that people have challenges. And me, I tell you, Ed Delgado, no one's asked me about my experiences, but I can tell you, man, I wouldn't trade them for the world. And maybe I'll write a book one day.
Mm-hmm.
When I ran,
you should.
You know, contrary to some of the names I've mentioned, you actually covered the races.
Right.
You actually came to events. You actually watched them.
Oh shit. Hold on. I'm sorry. We got the homie up in this joint. Maurice Delk. What's up?
Maurice. What's going on, brother Maurice?
Hey, you know what? And I want to hook up with Mo.
Bring up Mo.
I want to
bring Mo.
Mo.
If you can.
Mo, if you want to come up on this, we are in hour 2, so the no words are licensed. It is consented. It is on point. For those of you guys don't know, Mo has YouTube, Facebook, and he's got a ridiculous following. Mo is a Black conservative, MAGA Republican. I can't say enough about this brother because he this is the dude who will go to Chi-Town and walk through Capri Green with a MAGA hat on.
Yeah, Mo's a little wild for me.
Mo got 0 fucks to give.
Yeah, Mo's a little wild for me, I would say. Mo's mouth.
He is, but you know what? I love Mo.
Mo's mouth is something strong, and you gonna have to have a little chaser because it's strong. So I met him. I think online. I don't think I may have met him one time.
No, you interviewed with him one time.
There you go. He don't hold punches. So, but for me, man, again, I would never, downplay people's testimonies and the challenges they have. That's what makes us Americans who refuse to, give up. And I believe my story is one in which is about redemption, about one that refuse to give up. Unfortunately, people who look for the perfect, because I'm not perfect at all, and I don't know anyone is. I just put my name out there to serve people. And unfortunately, some didn't like it. That's fine. I definitely understand the power of first position on a ballot, especially for a low turnout race. You need to have. And I can also tell you that the one thing that I do regret, Ed, in that race is that if I'd known that I was going to touch lightning in the bottle, I would have had more money invested. He said he's under the weather right now. Okay. He said
Yep.
he's on. Brother Mo, get better, man. It's going around.
But you know what? We gotta get love to Mo.
It's,
We gotta get love to Mo because he constantly puts out content on YouTube. He's constantly putting on liberals on blast.
Mo, you should bring us on your show when you get better. So one thing
Yes, sir.
I wish I would have done, Ed, and I don't know if I had enough funding, but if I could have did something different at a race, I wished I would have had a campaign team with me on the road. So when I went to those tractor pools and got people fired up and going, who were not at the county caucus, who were not at the Lincoln or the Reagan Day, they went to the mud races and at the tractor pool, do tobacco and they drink Busch Light or whatever they was drinking that night. I wish.
They drink a beer. They drink a Busch Light. It's dollar ship beer night.
I wish I would have had a team together that could have got those names and addresses and email addresses to keep them engaged. Because what I needed was more follow up to keep those individuals so they remember that I remember that guy. That's
so. Let me throw this out here because hindsight is 2020.
Sure it is.
We can sit here and look back and think about what we should have, could have done it. Now, 2023 was a shit year for me. For 23, I have 5 people I knew that died. People that I personally knew. I went to, let me think about this here for a second. Yeah, 5 people I knew that died. I attended 4 funerals. 3 of them were family. 2 of them were both my parents. Pretty fucked up year for anybody. And that's why, for me personally, when I took off, I tried to be consistent in December of 23, but it just didn't really work out. And in November, going backwards. In January, I was just kind of like really out of sorts. And I spent so much time here in the studio. And I'm talking with one of my brothers. And I spent so much time just sitting in a squirrel hole, trying to distract, like not spending time with my family, just trying to process everything in my fucking head, and I wasn't taking calls from other people and I was really out of the loop. But when you think going forward, you got to get past all that. And it's a hard pill to swallow of tragedies and everything going forward, from the past. But at some point, how do you honor those that you have lost? How do you get past that? So, that's why I was really grateful when Ian had you and me on his live stream. You kind of pushed me to kind of get back into it. And it's like, you know what? Now it's like, let's go full bore. Let's get back to where we were. And let's push it all beyond, because you know what? The conversation needs to be had. The conversation needs to be had with you, with me, hell, even with Ian. And I know he's spending more time in Arizona. He's doing his thing out there with Mo, with those guys from right now. Hell, I have people with the recall people, in the 63rd. Let's have the conversation. Just know that we're going to be calling balls and strikes. That's why I kind of lined up the next week here, where it's like, we get Hilario De Leon, we got Stacey Klein, we got David King. Let's get everybody up in here, because that's where we need to be. Because at this point, April 2nd is really around the corner. Less than 30 days.
We need to have conversations, and I think we look at what happened. I guess yesterday. Thursday with the Trump race, right? He's picking up more delegates. Super Tuesday is coming up this Tuesday, another Super Tuesday.
I'm excited. Wait, what's the over-under? What is the over-under that Nikki Haley picks up anything?
She'll pick up some, right? And I think I just don't know where we're going with this, because maybe there are many who are saying she's really jockeying to be on that no labels ticket now, because she said to yesterday or today, I think it was yesterday, that she's not beholden to the RNC kind of rules of supporting the nominee, because the RNC ain't what it used to be. And I was like,
Right,
man?
because she put out that it was her and Liz Cheney has said that the RNC is Trump's party.
Oh, brother, man, Tracy, I got to come with you, man. Me and you need to hook up in the next 2 weeks, man. I gotta
She
get.
did.
I gotta get some. I gotta get some. What you say, Ed? I gotta get some targets down range.
Rounds down range. Yes, sir.
I need to get some rounds down range with both of my, a few of my selections of choice. So Tracy just went out to a competition. I don't
I
know if you
saw
saw
that.
Quiz.
I saw that. And
Listen,
Tracy,
I asked
I
him
ain't
what's
trying to
the
mess
best
with Tracy.
time. So Tracy had 2 footages up, and I didn't know. He had some footage of him coming out of the holster, and also with him holding the firearm in his hand. And I asked him what was the best time out of the holster. I thought it was like 4.1. He's like, no. I was like, my fault. Because I saw it later, it was like 3 point something. I was like, he's a quick draw. And then his time to actually holding the firearm was even better. I was like, yeah, I need to get some shots down range with Tracy.
I'll say this as far as Tracy's concerned. I ain't trying to piss him off.
No.
Like, I'm quick, but I ain't Tracy quick.
No.
Let's take a look at something here. And I pull this up. I pull this up because we talk about Super Tuesday, right? Let me make sure. Let's get the screen set. There we go.
Yeah, what was it?
Tuesday.
2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12 is on Tuesday?
Oh, so far? Yeah, Alabama, Alaska, Arkansas, California, Colorado, Iowa, Maine, Massachusetts. That's the mass holes out there. We got Minnesota. We got North Carolina. We got Oklahoma. We got Tennessee.
So some of these already happened, though.
No, this is Super Tuesday. These are what's going to happen. What's going to go down. He's got Texas.
Didn't Minnesota just have something and they voted for non-committed? Was that Minnesota? Yeah, it was Michigan. No.
No. Non-committed. That was.
It was Minnesota.
Michigan. It was Michigan.
It was Michigan. Okay.
That was Michigan. So we got Texas. We got Utah. God, I can't wait till I get a license to play music so I can, play Tennessee.
So this is all this Tuesday coming up?
Yes, sir. Vermont, Virginia, American Samoa. There's Democrat presidential caucus happening there. Man. And then on the 6th, Hawaii. Well, okay, American Samoa on the 8th for Republicans. On the 12th, we got Georgia, Hawaii, Mississippi, Northern Marianas has their Northern Marianas has the Democrat primary. Washington, presidential primary. Democrat support, Northern Marianas. Guam, the Republican primary is on the 16th. But let's look forward to the most beautiful day ever, Wisconsin. April 2nd. Arkansas, Connecticut, Delaware. There's a primary runoff in Mississippi, New York, Rhode Island, Wisconsin. I don't think Nikki Haley picks up anybody. And it's funny because Nikki Haley picked up 62.9% of the vote in D.C. to Trump's 33.2%. And do you know what that tells me? Democrats voted for Haley. Nobody can tell me any other way. Hey, Tracy, let me know what gauge, what round is not allowed at the range where you're at. I would love to go shooting with Tracy because I honestly think I could learn a thing or two from him. Like, I'm good, but I'm not that good. Just enough to be dangerous. Orlando just dipped out over here.
Sorry.
He jumped back out. Yeah, no, I feel you on that. I'm gonna do the same thing here in a second, but yeah, I feel
So
you.
next week Tuesday, then the following Tuesday, huh?
Well,
Two,
again,
Two
if we're
Tuesdays in
going
November.
back to Super Tuesday, March is going to be. This is where Orlando, 8 p.m. Central Standard Time. Let's do this. I got
Where?
Hilario De Leon from Milwaukee County Republican Party on Monday. I got to do the normal show on 8 on Tuesday. I got U.S. Senate Republican U.S. Senate candidate in our primary here, Stacey Klein, on Wednesday. Milwaukee mayoral candidate on Thursday, and then I have a tattoo appointment to finish it off on Friday. But busy week.
So Monday I won't be there. I won't be able to be there. I'll be at the Carly Gaines event. So my branch and some other groups are coming together for, is it Carly Gaines? The lady, the swimmer.
Oh, right, Riley Gaines, I think.
Riley. Okay. So she's here tomorrow night. And so I'll be at that event probably doing the same time. You all will be Riley Gaines. I'll be at her event tomorrow night. So it's sold out pretty much. I've heard already.
Let me ask this here. I saw the ticket price to see this young lady, to hear her talk.
Mm-hmm.
I guess I have a problem when $125 per ticket, 150. I mean, it was like it's freaking ridiculous.
See, I didn't. Yeah, I got a question about that because I don't know if that's
It's a grift.
accurate as far as the cost of that because I'm not paying that much for my ticket. I don't know what that is. Then I don't know.
Well, you might, but you may not be. But I saw somebody posting stuff on X.
It may be
it was like
somebody maybe selling their tickets on the aftermarket, maybe.
No, it's not the aftermarket. Tracy, hey Tracy, if you know what the ticket cost is, look it up and tell me what it is. I knew it was over a bill, and it's like if I gotta pay. Okay, here, let me throw it like this. I had a guy hit me up this past Sunday. He's at one of the counties just south of me. He wants me to be the keynote speaker for his county caucus's first county Lincoln Day dinner.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, hella honored. Like, you want me, like, there are congressmen, there are senators, like, you're going to have me as your keynote speaker? All right, bet. How much do you charge? I don't know. Interest fee, a meal. And I know the joint they're going to do that, so the food's good. Pay for my gas, give me a quick trip, hit me up that way. Because I drive a lot. And gas is like, you remember that one dude? I can't remember his name. It's a black dude, wears gloves, rents too damn high. Yeah, that's how I feel about gas. It's too damn high. I mean, nah, you just entrance and a meal, for me and my family. He's like, you don't bet. And I'm down with that. These cats, like, they can't just have like travel, lodging. It's, you're going to be sold out no matter what. For someone like this young lady who advocated against trans people, in trans men. Wait, let me get this right. A man who wants to be a woman swimming against biologically born women who had, in the first onset, has a biological advantage, who's going to win against the biologically born women who haven't transitioned. I respect that they stand up against that. What I don't respect is that they're probably going to make millions of dollars over the course of the next, year and a half going into this election cycle.
So Ed, I got it down as $70 in person before a certain date, $80 per person after a certain day, and VIP at $115.
All right, where's this? Where's the location going to be at?
Now that I couldn't tell you because I think they are, for protest sake, you know.
All right, Riley Gaines. I don't care if her age or her husband. No,
I will say this:
she's going to be in Waukesha, right?
I can neither confirm nor deny that.
Well, the event, it's out there publicly.
Is it? I can't find it. But I will
say Milwaukee was Milwaukee County, Riley Gaines in Waukesha, March 4th, 5 to 7. March 4th.
Tomorrow.
All right. When they have events like this, I gotta ask, why do you do it on a weekday? You will get more attendance and credit to 5 to 7, but like, wouldn't it be better to do a Saturday or Sunday?
Yeah, I mean, it's always it's always conflicts, but yeah, I mean, I heard they did pretty good. I think they're just about out of tickets, so I think they're doing fairly well. You may be able to find some on the aftermarket if some may have, bought tickets and maybe trying to resell some.
Let's see here. There are currently no tickets available for that date. It is sold out.
So if you can get a ticket, you may be getting somebody who's maybe doing it as a aftermarket. So they may be charging a premium price for that at this point. So,
maybe I should get into that side hustle.
So do that as a
the hell cryptocurrency.
Wow. To do stuff on the secondary market.
Well, the secondary. Okay, here. There is a bottle of Jack Daniels single barrel, and Eric Church, a country singer, and I can tell you with full authority that this bottle with the liquid to the retailer will sell for under $50. However, when you put it on the secondary market, the bottle empty without the juice will sell for $100. With the juice, it will sell for, I don't know, $300 to $500. I mean, an individual could 10x their money. It's ridiculous.
Well, I guess it's business on how they can do it. I guess
it's kind of crazy, right? I don't know.
So I'm just here for the popcorn. I'll be there. I'll probably won't be able to do the show tomorrow night. I'll be at that event. I'm going to be helping out and volunteering.
Yep.
I hope it goes well. It should go well. A lot of
absolutely. And nothing against Riley. I mean, don't get me wrong.
I think from what I've seen, she's going to probably bring the fire. She's going to probably bring the fire. So, yeah, I'm looking forward to it, man. Looking forward to it. So some of the other shows some of the other shows you have this week, I probably can pop in and do a couple of them. But yeah, man, I think I think it's gonna be good. I mean, I've liked some of the guests that have come to the city. I had a guy ask me from another state running as a Black Republican, and he was really critical. Like, well, if you're doing so much Orlando in the city of Milwaukee, why is Milwaukee still blue?
Oh, are we going there?
I was like, man, you clearly hadn't done your research because we're not just blue. We are blue. We are almost.
Let's put the preface on this here.
You were delayed again, Ed.
Yeah, I was trying to do something here, but all right, let's hang tight for a second here.
Your voice is synced up. It was just your face. Your voice is synced up. I can hear your voice perfectly.
Are we? All right, hang tight 1 second.
Your voice is
All
good.
right,
I mean, it's just,
there we go. There we go.
I think you're right.
All right. All right, here it is. I don't like that. Let's do this. No, I don't like that either. Let's do this. I like that better. Okay. So there are individuals on Instagram. Like Instagram gets a lot of pull. Instagram gets a lot of people that will follow you. Instagram's got conservatives, it's got liberals. There are people that follow you. And there are people that are just really wild on the left. And I say that they're wild because they'll sit here and try to play the pseudo intellectual role. And it's like, oh, black, liberal. Oh, so you're a child diddler. You like diddling kids. Well, I'm about black people. No. You vote for Biden. You vote for Gavin Newsom. You like diddling kids. I said what I said because you know what? It's the Biden administration that is perpetuating child sex trafficking. It is the Biden administration that wants open borders. It's the Biden administration that lets coyotes do their thing. Tell me I'm wrong.
Nope, you're correct.
You want to sit here and try to play pro black, it's like, but there's no such thing at this point.
I've noticed, man, that a lot of these liberal spaces that we go into, man, these individuals, and you and I spoke about this, we're not changing their position. They're not changing our position. I was hoping to have conversations around the people who are listening. But so often it's just nothing but them bringing them and their sycophants with them.
All right.
They're minions. I'm like, so.
Well, you were on a podcast, late last week. You actually went to somebody to a studio.
I did. I went to Brother Muhammad's studio.
Right.
In Milwaukee.
And does he rent the studio or is that his?
So he's part of the investment team that bought that building.
Okay.
It was an awesome place. I got a few people who actually asked about some of the banquet space there because it's a beautiful. It used to be Pastor Piles. He's a pretty well-known pastor here in the city of Milwaukee. It used to be his a church and also office space. So they moved out, they sold or whatever. So it's beautiful. They turned, it's a beautiful place. Tons of space. They got a couple studios for podcasting, training rooms. They have a whole banquet room. They do catering. It's an awesome facility. Enjoy myself. He was fairly decent in person. I must admit. He.
Well, you look at you are having a good time.
I did. His co-host was decent. His co-host definitely says that he's totally not political. He did get some questions fed to him, and so one was about housing. I think I represented the positions pretty well from the standpoint of where we are as a movement. So I put it this way: they said I can come back. So
you know what? Anytime somebody says, you know what, hey man, I love that conversation. We started the show earlier tonight here with the whole Jay Schrader, Robin Voss thing. I would love to have Jay back on here. Like, I love Jay. I don't know if he loves me, given what I said, but Jay's a great guy. I've got to know. I got to know him personally. It's
a great interview. He's not a shy guy.
Oh, he's got zero fucks to give, and I appreciate that. But yeah, anytime somebody invites you back, hey man, you want to come on back here? Let us know. We'll hit you up.
They were
that's open a good cut. That's a good cast.
Although we may not think alike in a lot of the politics, he was able to. But yeah, man, some of the Instagram following is just like
they're wild.
Bringing your 5 to the court. Like, oh, who got next? We got next. Well, who you picking? I got my 5 already. So it's like, okay, so the people that's
Well,
following you are not really open. They kind of have their position already.
no, they are sycophants to the nth degree, and it's like, okay, are we doing rap battle? Are we sitting here who can rap, who can roast who the most? Like, if you're talking about who's going to be the best shit talker, you lost before you began. Because I'm not just an expert. I'm a Jedi master. I'm a freaking
Well,
Sith Lord.
that's all I. That's all I pretty much take of it. It's really
It's garbage because
it's
it's
unregulated
funny.
mayhem. It's
It's funny
wild.
because the left on Instagram, they can sit here and be like, well, I'm a calm, rational young, man. And I'm going to tell you this here. So let me ask you this question. Donald Trump says racist statements. Would you agree? No.
I wouldn't.
And they would set up the question with that. And they would further with the question to the point where the only way you could answer their question is to acknowledge that Trump is a racist. And they will cut you off when you're answering. It's like, no, he's not.
Well, I think you take a unique position of like, and I think it's part of your philosophy in life. Like, what's the point? Like, what are we doing here? For the sake of debating, and I'm not going to change you. You ain't going to change me. So, what are we really doing here? And it looks like
Right.
the audience is pretty much set. So we're not talking to like an audience of people who are actually open. They came because their guy was on stage and they came to cheer him on. They're not going to change the position. So,
Well, again, when I look at a debate, when I look at a conversation, right? I'm down for let's disagree. Let's raise our voices. Let's cut each other off. I'm totally in for that. As long as the next time we see each other, we can break bread together. However, if it is so contentious that we can't break bread together, I don't want to talk to you. Like at this point, if you're an individual that says, you know what, you said this, it pissed me off. So the next time I see you is violence on contact. No, it's not. Let me tell you why it's not.
Because I'm not.
Let me tell you what. I'm gonna write you off as persona non grata. I will not acknowledge you. You do not exist in my world. And if it does come to physical blows, then I will rip your arm off and beat you with it within an inch of your life. And I don't want to do that. I will be 51 years old this coming Saturday. I am not fighting anybody. I have more years behind me than I do in front of me. So I have to create things now. So I'm not gonna sit here and get into a pissing contest with anybody. But what I will do is have that rational adult conversation with individuals on the right and the left. If you want your children's future to be better than yours.
Well, happy early birthday to you, old guy.
Well, you know what? My boy tells me, he's like, Dad, you're not old. And I was like, damn, boy, thank you. I appreciate you.
Thank you, son.
You're ancient. I so glad to.
Well,
You got me, though.
Congratulations. I'll be stepping into your club a couple of days after you. So
yeah, you mean in the 50s, aren't you?
I'll be leaving the fours and stepping into the fives.
Let me tell you the entry into the 50s. The trick to enter in the 50s is understanding that the best is yet to come, and you are. And I wish I had a music license. So I would play right now the Gap Band's Outstanding.
So what does that mean? You can't play music because you don't have a license. You can't play any music.
If I don't have a license, I have to pay for a license. And understanding I'm on YouTube and I'm on Facebook in particular, so they will blank out that portion of the video. And a lot of it is copyright infringement, and it is true. It's their intellectual property. I totally understand that. And that's why, I'm This week, I'm going to be reaching out to ASCAP and BMI and a couple other organizations so that tell me what the fee is. And I want music, and not just the normal, common, was it common, common creators. Yeah, and I pay for that too because it's like $25 a month. I do that, but I want the popular music that we know. I want Gap Band. I want Disturbed. I want, the Ride of the Valkyries. I want all of that into the podcast that we're doing here.
So I just want to say ASCAP because
ASCAP.
that's the third time I heard the word this week. Dan O'Donnell brought it up. He was talking about ASCAP, and he was saying how much he just wanted to say the word ASCAP. But he told us what the acronym stands for, and you're the second person. So I was like, I just want to say ASCAP. So he said it too. So I just want to say it on the radio, ASCAP. So all right.
It sounds close enough to a certain other word here. Tracy's talking about we're not old, we're wise.
There you go.
Let's see here. Christine, and I can shout out to Christine, super fan. And by the way, if I ever get to the point where I have like subscription, if I ever come to a point where it's like a fee to get the behind the scenes type of thing, Christine's going to have premium membership. There's no question about that. Christine's been a super fan for years. And I love her. I love her husband. I love her family. She mentions here, she says it even means if there is a great video of conversation, there's music playing in the background, it's a no-go. And absolutely. And that's what, and it's interesting because if there's news out there, you have to be very careful because there's copyright strikes, things, especially on YouTube. But if it is a news organization publishing content, technically you can use it without needing to have a license, but it can be disputed, which is you got a back and forth. I got a copyright strike with Jonathan Wickman when I did his interview. Really? The strike was that he was perpetrating bullshit.
Oh.
My response to YouTube was, no, he is a legitimate candidate for governor. And I sent a bunch of stats and everything else, and they turned it out. And generally it's pretty hard to turn it around for YouTube.
So they reverse it. They let you post it.
They did. Yep.
Okay.
They put a hard strike against me on that. And it was like, no, I mean, Jonathan Wickman, he said some things that are out of pocket as far as I'm concerned, things I don't agree with. But he was at that time a legitimate, serious contender for the governorship here in Wisconsin, a candidate.
I don't know if we've seen the last of him yet. I think he has a lot.
Oh no.
Now I will say this: he may be done with it, but he definitely has some leadership ability. So he may be done. Like he just don't want to do it anymore because of what he's seen. But so what's your take on RPW's executive director leaving to join the Tavern League?
Oh, you. First off, Christine, I love you guys. Mark Jefferson.
You cool with it? You okay?
Okay. So here's the thing. Mark Jefferson steps down from RPW. People are like, where's he going to go? Is he going to stay in Wisconsin? Well, it's like, why are you asking that question? That's like a dumb question. Like, I don't know where Mark lives. I'm assuming it's in Wisconsin. I believe he's got roots here. Like, I've lived around Rolla, and I can go anywhere. Wherever I lay my head is home. But Mark Jefferson deciding to go to the Tavern League. Wow. It is fascinating because the Tavern League is in a battle with a couple different things. One is the wedding barns, which to me, the wedding barn issue is complete bullshit because, well, we should have these exceptions in this. No, no, no. You're serving alcohol. You need to have a license, just like I don't know the bar that's a quarter mile down the road from my house. You need to have a bar the same way as Applebee's does, as Texas Roadhouse does. Well, we're different. No, you're not. You're serving booze. You try and cut yourself into a different box, but no, you're serving alcohol just the same. That's why, like, Scott Noble is a noble endeavor. Shut up. Great play on the words in your name. But with Mark Jefferson at the head of the Tavern League.
Do you think it was time for him to go, or it didn't really make a difference to you?
What? Say it again.
Do you think it was time for him to go, or it didn't really make a difference to you?
I think it was time for him to go, as I think it's time for most of the board of RPW. They need to move along. Because I think a lot of the cats that are up there, and I'm going to be very cryptic about it. A lot of those cats need to move on to something and let some of the new breed come in. And when I say the new breed needs to be balanced. It needs to understand the current modern day politics. It can't say, well, it's the will of the people. It's like, no, you need to be advocates.
So
now that being said, though, let me just finish with Mark here.
Okay.
I think Mark is going to be a huge asset to the Tavern League. I think he's going to give more control and structure to the Tavern League of Wisconsin. Like, I know something that most people in Wisconsin don't know. When it comes to the Tavern League of Wisconsin, when they have their convention, their gatherings, and their get-togethers, it is kind of wild. Like, that's the party you wanted to be when you were 16, 17, 18. That being said, though, I also know that the distributors, the distilleries, the money that flows, I know that Mark can give structure that the Wisconsin Tavern League has not known. And I think that this will be a great economic boom to Wisconsin if we can get inflation under control, if the Fed pivots and does a reduction in interest in quarter 3. Now, I say quarter 2, quarter 3, and people start understanding and there's more adoption into cryptocurrency. And let me quantify this for cryptocurrency. We're entering into a bull market. It's going to be really interesting to see what Bitcoin does against the dollar and the BRICS nation. And it's very, very complex. And I want to do a whole different show on this here. But I do think we are poised in a position for entertainment, for dining out. If we can reduce the cost of goods and services, we just need to get to the point where we're not spending more on credit than we are on the actual dollars. And I think Mark Jefferson might be that linchpin here in Wisconsin.
Mark's a lobbyist. He became a lobbyist. That's what he became. There's nothing wrong with it. He's executive director of the Tavern League. He's a lobbyist, and he's going to push for the membership. And I get it. That's he got a legit gig. He's going to be a lobbyist for the Tavern League. I want to know who they're going to replace him with, but I think that comes down to.
I would love to know that. Yes,
Brian.
Hey, replace it with me.
There you go. Brian's on.
Could you imagine me? Could you imagine me on RPW's board?
Not the you'll be so Mark is the executive director of RPW, so he's not on the. I don't think he's on the board. But hey, anywhere you are, it's gonna be a fun time. So Dan Canoga made an interesting announcement this past week.
Mm-hmm.
He's running against Janelle Branson.
Janelle will get slaughtered at this point.
Do you think so?
Oh yeah.
Okay, so
she's viewed as crazy.
He's running against her here in the local area because he didn't want to run against Dewey Strobel. He felt Dewey is more established than he is, and so he's going to go back and run for the assembly. I don't know what's going to happen in that race. I don't know.
You know what? And both of them have really good names. I mean, name ID is important.
Yeah, I mean, yeah. Republicans have what was, I don't know what the number is. You probably have it better than I do. The number of Republicans who are running against each other.
I was talking to Senator Pat Testin about this past Sunday, and he was telling me about it. He didn't give me numbers or anything else like that, and I gotta look at those maps. But he was telling me like there were people that were like out of their district by 15 fucking feet.
Yes,
like they measured it out, and there are people that were even like Pat Testin. Where he's at in his senatorial district, he's in like Adams and several other counties. Like he is at the tail end of where he could be. I was talking to Kevin Peterson, who's my state rep, and it was like he's barely my state rep in the assembly. And like, really? You know, let me address this question here. Christine says, curious to know if either of you feel as though his alignments are more with AFP. Christine, who is he?
I'm assuming she's about Mark Jefferson.
Okay.
I don't know. I don't know. I don't think so, because they didn't really do a lot of work together, because they really can't technically be. I think AFP is like a 501c4, so they can't really do a whole lot of stuff together anyway. So I don't know about that. So
what are your thoughts on AFP?
What are my thoughts on AFP?
Yeah.
You know, that's where Jamiroquai is. I think they push issues. I think there is probably
they or he.
AFP, I think, pushes them as well. He may be someone who's trying to, you know, present issues, but AFP, I think, since one of the brothers died, the one who died, I think he was more conservative. I think the one who took over, who has soul, was more of a libertarian, and you see it in some of their initiatives. When the more conservative brother was alive, it was kind of still a little bit. It was more center right. This may be more centralist. With the brother passing away, is leaving a one. So, what's your thoughts on Barron County, man, out there in Barron County?
I saw that. I was looking on X, right? And let me see if I can find.
Well, Barron County showed us something that I think all the parties needed to know. If you wasn't certain of the constitution of your county party and how this structure works, it seems as if we all are at the whim of the executive board. And that's made up of, I know I'm going to get this number wrong, but let me just go with it. You know, your congressional representative plus your congressional vice chair, plus the RPW's elected position. So I know someone told me that although it looks bad for what happened with Barron County, they still have the ability just to restructure and basically do a bunch of, I hate to say it, a bunch of recall elections.
Well, let's throw this out here. Barron County Republican Party just recently had elected a new chairman. As a matter of fact, they recently elected a whole new board. And more importantly, they lost their charter. And a lot of that had to do with the whole fiasco dealing with Adam Steen. And I saw a tweet what do we call it at this point? Is it a tweet? Is it an X? I don't
Did
know.
they elect the board? When they elect the board? I thought it was still on a read.
No, they did it. They did it. Let me see if I can find it here. Let me go to my tabs here.
So I'm
Nikki Haley
quite
wins
close with the
DC.
former chairman over there.
Republican Party of Barron County. Land Cheese and Champions 5 hours ago. Oh my God, it was out there. I saw it.
Because I would like to see how many of the existing board I guess given you what you just said, that is the new board versus the existing board. How many people actually, won election again?
All right, let me look, and I'm gonna do. Go ahead and talk here. I'm gonna do some searching here.
So it's interesting how our state party is set up with our counties. It seemed that the Barron County experiment showed us that the county parties all rendered themselves under the state charter. And so that means that we all, I guess, indirectly or directly report back to. So we're not standalone counties and have our own constitution, which it never was explained that to me. I thought the county parties were individual. Because again, if that's the case, then should the RPW be responsible for some of the concerns that are happening from the Adamstein event? I mean, if we all are, under the state charter, so
that is an interesting question.
I mean,
and I think that is where when RPW pulls a charter for somebody, because they're acting out of pocket, because they're not doing what they're supposed to do. Well, does any county party, well, here, let me frame it like this. A lot of county parties we're talking about over the last couple of years, RPW needs to answer to us. It's like, no. Cut that off. You actually answer to RPW because they set the standard. You are part of their branches. The RPW is the tree, and the county parties are the branches that come out from there. And I think that's where some of the county parties got it twisted. But that's just my take.
Well, it was never explained I don't believe to the county parties that way. I think the county parties always thought they made up RPW, which, let me be clear, the county parties do. Because the vast majority, I believe, on that board, and I could be wrong, but I believe the vast majority of the RPW board is made up of congressional, well, it's only 7 congressional districts, right? So that's 14 people. Then who are the other, 14 to make it 22? Those positions are voted upon by the 14.
Mm-hmm.
So really the 14 sets the table for the next, the next 14, what makes it, 28. But the 14 are the ones who actually set things in motion. Those 14 are elected by the county parties. Those are your congressional representative that are elected by the people. So what happened to Barron couldn't have happened without the support of the 14 plus the other 22.
Well, I think that's where people got twisted because, and I heard it's even in 22. It was the idea that, well, it's selected, not elected. It's like, well, it's selected because the people you elected to represent you here in the 6th congressional district. I'm part of the resolutions committee. Great. So am I selected or elected? I mean, what are we doing here? Because eventually when it comes to convention, I was chosen amongst the group. So at that particular point, I'm just simply a representative. I am a member at large, as it were. So Is it on me or is it on the people that were in charge? Because when it comes to the various counties within a congressional district, right? We're all trying to figure out what we're going to do, whether it be the resolutions committee, the rules committee, any other committee. And Orlando, you've been more in this game than I have. Tell me if I'm right or wrong.
From what standpoint are you right or wrong?
When you're in a committee or anything else like that, it's like people could talk about, well, you're selected, not elected. It's like, well, every county has the ability to elect the people, to nominate the people, to go to these committees, to go to this resolution, everything else.
Everything's what should be happening. Everybody is elected.
Let me just throw this too. And I heard this a lot in 22. Why should we just let a select few, the elite in the Republican Party, go to convention and do this XYZ? Not yet. Going to convention is expensive. Cost of a hotel, food, everything else. But if you care enough, you would be there. So my whole thing is like, why are you begging on the people that want to be there? And why aren't you encouraging the people that, or at least influencing them, to talk to the people that want to be there, that are going to be there?
Well, again, I think anybody can go to state convention. You can pay your money. To be a delegate, though, may not be. It may be a application process and a vote that happens. Milwaukee County, we have so many delegate spots based on the votes of each county. I think we have like 500-600 spots of delegates that we actually can fill. We never get to 500. I doubt if we get to 100, but other counties, let's say another county that may have only 10 spots, but 14 people want to be a delegate. So now that county has to find a way to pick the 10 that's going to go represent them in the state convention. It'd be an application process, could be a vote, could be an interview. I don't know all the ways you can be selected, but yeah, man, Milwaukee County, we don't have this. In fact, we have the reverse issue, which is we can never find enough people to sign up for all 534 slots we have that we actually get because of our size of our district or our county.
See, I'm voluntold. And it's funny because Christine put this here, and I'm going to put her comment back up on here.
Volunteered or voluntold?
And now I'm voluntold. And it's a little different. We have 37 people that can go to, to our caucuses, our district congressional caucuses, or whatever. Last year, 4 people showed up to convention. The year before that, 4 people showed up to convention. I'm a delegate no matter what. Do you know why I'm voluntold? Because I said so. And again, that's the thing. Are you going to actually show up to the state party convention? And Paris Prokopis has said this here during 22. Why are we going to let just the elite show up? What's your commitment, though? How much skin in the game do you have? How much of this doesn't matter to you? No, we don't. No. The Republicans can't just let anybody select who's going to be our nominee for whatever office. And you're going to play this game because you want your guy to win, your gal to win? No. Well, that's nonsense.
I think you and I talked about this during that time.
Yeah.
Why do we have to have a state convention? Although, I don't know if it's in our Constitution that we have this one convention in the state and we pick different locations to go to. You got to pay for a hotel for 2 days or whatever. Why couldn't we do the selection of our nominees at the congressional level so that people don't have to drive as far and be that committed. Who says we couldn't? What? Who says we couldn't have a series of conventions at the congressional level? That was one of the suggestions I've made when I was running for statewide. Since I did hear people say, "Well, I can't go for that. I can't do this and that. I'm a farmer. I'm a this. I'm a that. I can't do that." It's also so. Why don't we just make the congressional districts, caucuses, the state convention? Because like more people show up for that than they go to the state convention, because it's just they can't do both. They can't, take off a whole Saturday for the state convention, for the county for the congressional convention, and then again go to the state convention. So one of the suggestions that
it's that you can't afford it or you don't want to.
Maybe it's a mixture. I don't know, but one of the things I did suggest,
I oftentimes will ask people, it's like, because people would tell me, like, I can't afford that. Yeah, but you can afford that fucking $12 pack of Cool Menthol 100.
Yeah.
And I love it because people can't afford that, but you can afford this, right? And I'm a smoker, so it's like, don't tell me you can't do that. I love it because I got a delay now.
Boy, you moving awfully slow. That they showing
right.
But again, to your point, people pay for what they want to pay for.
Yep.
Okay. So one of the suggestions that I did make was, why can we make our elections at a congressional level, and so that we will get the same results? But it was one of those weird Orlando ideas, that I'm such an out of the box thinker. Although most people did like it, like that's interesting. I'm like, yeah, you don't have to have a state convention, or why not have a series of state convention, maybe 7 in every congressional district, and you guys have your state convention. You vote for. You don't have to wait the state convention to vote for the nominee. You could have voted for the nominee in your congressional district.
Well, I think you could have both. There's a way you do that. You could nominate your, from the congressional level, right?
Yeah.
And then when you have your state convention, it becomes, more a matter of camaraderie.
You can send in
the hospitality suite.
We can send in and mail in the results of your congressional district caucus on who you guys want to see for governor, lieutenant governor. You can do that all from your congressional level. Those votes could be, put in a secure place and taken to the state convention. And those individuals, because what happens is, let's say, to your point, only 4 people showed up for your congressional district.
For my county.
That means them 4 people are going to outvote the 31 extra spots that are not filled.
Well, and it was interesting because in my particular county, right, there were 4 people that showed up, and 2 people left very early, which meant myself and my wife, we had like ridiculous voting power. Like someone like me should not have that level of voting power
because people left.
Right. When we voted, and my wife and I, Jen, we discussed, we talked these things through. We're rational, and we voted. It was freaking ridiculous because let's go back to 22. At a certain point, if you go back to how they were voting, and they were trying to like reduce things to speed it up, but it really made it really long. But eventually 2 people, Jen and I, had the voting power of 37 people.
Yep, because you guys were the ones who was last people standing.
Yeah. Right. It was ridiculous. So there's got to be a better way of doing that.
And that's why my suggestion was, do it at the congressional level, because you get more people. Even in your case, it sounded like even at your county caucus, nobody showed up. So, or very few.
Well, it was funny because this past Sunday, we did our Lincoln Day dinner, and like I knew I was going to be a delegate. There was no question about it. But it was like we had about 60 people in the room. And this included representatives, potential candidates, everything else like that. how many of those are actually going to show up to convention? How many of you are going to show up to the 6th Congressional Caucus? How many of you will actually show up to convention in Appleton? How many of you are going to get a hotel? How many of you were actually going to go to the event and that, it's an hour drive, less than, and then drive back home? How many? And by the way, I'm about 45 minutes from Appleton. I'm not driving anywhere because, well, I just want to get some Z's. That's how I roll.
You're making some good points, man. You're making some good points.
It's a level of commitment because you know what? Tyler Durden said it best in Fight Club. What is your level? What is your level of involvement? How much of this matters to you? Christina has asked a question. Better question is how does each county reach people who want to be in the fight to win back the White House without joining the party? That's a great question. I have an answer, but I would love to hear what Orlando has to say first.
Well, I think there's a lot of people who don't like the Republican Party. They don't like labels. So they don't want to join the party because, first of all, they don't see the need for it or the use for it. Like, what do you guys really do? And that's a quite normal question to have.
Yeah.
But how to get them engaged to fight and show up, you got to find issues that are important to them. That's how you move anybody. If your issue don't really, if what you're fighting for don't connect with me, then why should I get up and move? If we don't have a message that connects to people on why they should get up and move, then we shouldn't be surprised when they don't get up and move. So often we talk about like, well, our message, our talking points should make sense. Sure, it should. But if people don't connect with the message or the messenger, it doesn't matter. That's why I'm not against, because I got some ideas of what I want to roll out as far as ballot harvesting or how I think we should go about doing it. If it's legal in Wisconsin, this is how we should go.
That's a great point right there.
Where we should go to do it. But what I will say is this: no one cares about why it should be better for them to vote Republican if they don't like the messenger or the message. And what we've been selling, they don't like. What's probably most important, they don't like. Again, at our core, conservatives don't like government. So we shouldn't be surprised that they don't jump up and down. Let's go vote for government. Let's go vote for somebody else to control my life. That's not the nature of a conservative.
Well, and that's my fear right now because we keep, the Overton window keeps continually shifting to the left, right? And it's just this idea. Eventually, it's like, well, you know what? Well, here.
Go ahead with your answer. Let me hear what you got to say.
Let me frame it like this. When it comes to the issue of abortion, I've gotten to the point where I am.
Are you talking about the question, or you? Because I want to hear what you thought. How do we get to her question?
Okay. The better question is, how does each county reach people who want to be in the fight to win back the White House without joining the county party?
Because you were one of those people. You weren't part of your county party.
I am part of my county party.
I think I talked you into it.
You did. You son of a bitch. You got me. Oh yeah, Delgado. Yeah. But here's the thing: within your county parties, do not simply rely on the county party, especially if it's ineffective. Push them. Like my county party, and I'm going to post pictures really soon. They're going to be doing more things, and a lot of it is because I've given a lot of heat over the last couple of years. And you have to realize that you're not going to get instantaneous results. It's a period of time. So what do you do as the individual yourself? You create content. You do something from a conservative perspective. And when you think about how do you reach people that don't want to be within the county parties or whatever else, talk to them, have a conversation, tell them the importance, find the commonality that you and that individual has, so that you can tell them, you know what, at the end of the day, when I go to Pick and Save, when I go to Piggly Wiggly, when I go to Woodman's, when I go to whatever, it's fucking ridiculous. I got to spend $15 for a cube of Diet Pepsi, 24 cans of soda. It's going to cost me $15. Really? How much is the cost of beef? How much is the cost of hamburger meat? How much is the cost of pork? How much is the cost of spaghetti noodles? And it's funny because, I shop Walmart, I shop the Pig, I shop Pick and Save. The only thing I don't shop is Aldi's. And that is because there's not Aldi's near me. But I can tell you, when I am looking at a slab of meat, it's going to cost me $120. There's 12 pounds. There's a problem. I'm a carnivore, like straight up carnivore. I lost 92 pounds on a carnivore diet. And my diet consists purely of meat and protein. My eggs right now cost $3 a dozen at Quick Trip. If you can't beat Quick Trip, then you're way above that. So how do you go out and fight against that? You talk economics. You talk, the purse strings. You talk about what's hitting them at the dinner table. That's how you hit them.
I don't.
The problem is when it comes to the Republican Party and RPW, AFP, whomever, they're not talking them properly. AFP's talking about, we'll give you $60 in groceries. Great. So you gave me some ho-hos, a pound of meat, and some carbs. That's it. You gave a man a fish, but you did not teach that man how to fish.
Well, you and I spoke about this when I did the analysis when I ran for statewide. Man, again, I could write a book and memoirs, and for those who listen, they'll hear it. I can tell you, man, that there's a formula to win representative seats and Senate seats in our state, Wisconsin, and that formula to win didn't necessarily encompass trying to get the biggest turnout. They were already conservative districts, and they only needed so many people to turn out. When I ran statewide, I can tell you that some of the reps that I ran into had a playbook and a formula. Go to the Kiwanis Club, go to the Chamber of Commerce, and come to one pancake breakfast, and you win the district. I'm like, well, that's enough to win the district, but it's enough to win the state.
Right.
And therein lies the divide, right? I push so much for, getting away from voter-driven data as far as what RPW offered up in the past is door knocking apps. I was one of the first ones, and Ed, you can attest to it. But I said,
here we go.
We need to have more consumer-driven data. I need to know, why do we have 40% of hunters who are not registered voters?
Well, okay. Let me stop you right there. Consumer driven data let's say, for example, you're going to use me. Damn, this dude takes a shit ton of red meat. And I do. That's like, if I was to put, let me give a percentage of how much red meat I eat. Well, red meat and chicken. Okay, I'll put the two together because chicken's not red meat. That's 96% of my diet. Why aren't we targeting people like that? Why, I got an article here. And I'm going to pull this up just for a moment. New York Attorney General. Here, we're going to pull this up here. New York Attorney General sues the world's largest beef producer over methane emissions climate commitments. So here's the thing. Kellogg's CEO came out talking about, you know what, maybe you could have cereal. Now, I don't fault the Kellogg's CEO for saying that because he's trying to make, more sales for his business. But if you look at what is the optimal diet for an individual, it is not cereal. It is not Beyond Meat. It's not, because it's highly processed. It is literally, you get, as somebody's rocks more of a carnivore diet than anything else, it is about trying to make that work, right? Let me pull this up here. And feel free to jump in on this. It's going to be a delay.
I see it now. So I was one of the first people to talk about the need for consumer data, not voter data.
Right.
Based
on what people buy.
Right. Consumer data, what you buy, what you purchase, what you spend your time, effort. I took it upon myself.
But that's the point of the thing that I'm getting to. If you can get to the people that are more meat based, if you can get to the more people that are saying, you know what, I'm going to be buying products from this organization versus here. An individual buys some Jeremy's razors versus, what's that, My Shape Club or something like that. That's who you need to be rocking with.
Again, all these things play a role in consumer data. The meat you buy, the purchase you make at the grocery store, where you spend your money, the car you drive, what memberships you're a part of. Those things, are you a gun owner? Those are informations that I believe should be focused on to find new voters. All voters. So we use a provider when we did our doors for a state park. This is why I know that my ideas are, original ideas, because I did the work to figure this out. We used a program called Sidekick. I think it was called Sidekick at the time. They were a vendor that RPW invested in for their walk book data. So I called Sidekick because I was like, when I ran for office, I saw some glaring things like, this is not getting me to the voters I need that may be open. And then it didn't get me in front of voters who could vote our way, but just need to be motivated. I need something other than just voter information. So I called Sidekick. I called them myself and just did directly. And just made some inquiries to a salesperson. And I asked them,
how did that work out?
It was very helpful. I asked them, how did they get their voter information? And he was very transparent with me. He said, we get it from primarily two places. He said, we get most of our data from voter information. I said, voter information? He said, yeah, the same information you can get yourself from the county clerk. I said, oh, okay, so no consumer data? He was like, no, not really. Voter information. He said, then secondly, we are the primary provider of the RNC Trust. The RNC Trust is a system basically full of data information, voter information, derived from more voter information.
Well, a trust you can't trust.
A trust that is very limited. So
So
I'm like, well, so
go
how
ahead.
do we expand? He's like, we don't do consumer data. We do voter information. I said, okay, thank you so much for your time. This is from a sales rep. And I brought the
So
same,
dig this.
let me finish this point.
Yep,
I
yes,
brought
sir.
the
Yes,
same
sir.
information to RPW's attention and also to my local county party and said, this provider only gives us voter information that we can get from the register. That's not growing. We
Mhm.
need other people that don't show up on those on the voter registration and the voter. We need people who, like you said, Ed, who buy this. If I look up Ed Delgado, this guy buys a ton of meat. If he's a meat eater,
Right.
the odds are he's probably conservative because he eats a lot of meat.
So years ago, there's a audio file out there, and it's a very dystopian one where an individual wants to he calls into a pizza joint, and he's like, I want to get a sausage pepperoni pizza. Excuse me. And in this audio, the individual, it's like, who's taking the order, it's like, well, based on your health history, everything else, and God, this audio file is like really old, and I really need to get this pulled up. But at the end of the day, it said that, you know what? Well, we can't give you this because you have high cholesterol. We can't do this because you've got this problem, and your driving record. And at the end of the day, he was given a pizza with like chives and some other garbage on top of it, no meat, or anything else like that. It's not really hard to link all that together, your health history or anything else. And Christine here just put it out here. Honestly, Quick Trip is a convenience store who also sells fuel for your car. She's not wrong about that.
Hey, I'll take that.
Well, you look at Quick Trip, right? Excuse me. A Quick Trip is quick food on the go. Bring it home. You need eggs, you need butter, you need milk, you need soda, whatever. This is the data that we need to be looking at. We need to be looking at the data from Pick and Save, from Piggly Wiggly,
Exactly.
from Woodman's. We need to be looking for the data from, Quick Trip, from apparently Buc-ee's is been coming into Wisconsin.
How many people
We
have?
need to be looking at Casey's. And here's the crazy part. All of them have rewards cards.
I mean,
You
again,
need to look at that data.
when I can look at this data, Ed, and find out that it's 40% of hunters who are not registered voters. Now, again, just think about that number. That's just hunters themselves. Those hunters are probably married or have a significant other. If he's
Absolutely
not voting, most likely she ain't voting.
Well, here's the thing, though. If you have a hunter out there, alpha male, he probably has a woman.
Exactly.
And he probably has kids.
Exactly. So he ain't
and
voting.
he probably and he probably runs the household with the consent of his woman. And let's be clear about that. This is not a sexist thing. Hunters do what they're going to do. They're going to get what they're going to get, and then they will reconcile it with their woman.
Bro, if he ain't voting, that means she probably ain't voting either because they both probably are not into politics. If there's an 18-year-old or either high school
100%.
students who are growing up in that household, they're also picking up the pattern of voting don't make no sense either. So again, if it's 40% of hunters are not registered voters, I think at one time, I think we said it was 100,000. It's 100,000 people.
I think it was more.
It was
Yeah.
And let's give a number. Let's say it's 100,000 hunters who don't vote. That's easily 200,000 people because let's just say they all are with a woman. Let's cut it in half.
You see Kristen's comment right here?
Huh? Yeah, 40%.
40% of hunters are not registered to vote.
So let's say this is 100,000 voters. Let's just cut it in half. Let's say half of them are married or with somebody. So that's another 50,000 votes. So that's 150.
Yeah.
Let's say the ones who are married with a woman probably also got a kid who may be, let's say, a voting age. Let's say a quarter of them. So it's
Oh, no. Don't even put the kid at voting age. Let's just go with the with the hunter.
Okay.
Let's go low end.
150,000 people on the low end. How much did Trump lose in Wisconsin by?
Approximately 20,000, give or take.
So tell me again, why are we so fixated?
Difference
Tell
maker.
me why we so fixated on the Black and Latino vote so much again, and the women out of Waukesha on the issue of abortion. I'm just saying.
Yeah, you know what? And I feel that. God, you know what? We're gonna get so much hate.
I'm just saying. I'm not saying we don't put some effort into Latino and Black vote and the women's vote, but if you got 100,000 hunters who are not registered to vote, pretty much let's say half of them got a woman or a man in their life. That's 150,000 people who are not voting.
Yep.
Trump lost by 20,000 votes.
Right. And this takes out any conspiracy or legitimate issues, and they were plenty of legitimate. Don't get me wrong,
bro. It takes away the whole argument of the capitulating you have to do so much to say we got to win independence, as brother George
well,
about, we got to win independence.
I think we do need to talk to the independents, but because the independents are the only cats that are going to be like, now I need to know who my candidates are here as of August or September.
Ed, I'm not disagreeing with you there. All I'm saying is, how do you slice the pie? Do you slice the pie so heavily toward independents, moderate women out of Waukesha, Blacks and Latinos, and students? You have half the pie right here, or 40% of that pie is Republican, who are already conservative-leaning people who just need to be motivated for a reason to go out and vote. This other part of the pie we're talking about, these people are going to be hard. How many Black folk you think you're going to get moved to vote for Republican? Remember, they don't like Republicans at all because they think Republicans are racist. So you still got to overcome that. What's probably more likely to happen if you do a robust campaign effort toward Blacks, the best you probably could do is say, well, the numbers may go to the point of more Blacks are considering that vote a little bit more stronger, and they decided to vote for a third-party candidate, or they decided to say, you know what, I'm going to do more research. You use that same thought for Latinos and young people and every other demographic underneath that, but you got 40% of people who are already allowing us, Ed.
Well, the sad part is I don't think that they're, within minority communities and socioeconomic depressed communities, and that includes white, Black, green, polka dot, plaid, or Asian, to quote, a Tribe Called Quest, they don't realize there is something more beyond Republican Democrat. And this is why I think the Libertarian Green parties just are non-factors. Like, it's not to be a spoiler, but not enough to raise the bar. That being said, though, we're approaching 3 hours. Man,
I gotta go. I gotta get up in the morning. I got a desk project. You gotta go.
I know. I gotta pretend to work too. But Tuesday night, 8 p.m. Central Standard Time, we gotta carry on this conversation because, I got Milwaukee County Chairman on Tuesday. I got a senatorial candidate on Wednesday. I got a Milwaukee mayoral candidate on Thursday. We're gonna be popping off.
Well, I could probably come on after the chairman of the county comes on. I thought you had him on tomorrow night, Monday.
Well, Monday, yes. Monday, got him 7 p.m. We're going to do our thing, one-on-one.
Monday or Tuesday?
See where we go. Monday. Tuesday.
I'll be back Tuesday because Monday is tomorrow, that Raleigh Gaines event. All I'm saying, Ed, this is the numbers that when we look at trying to use different consumer-driven data, but I'll be honest with you again, if 40% of hunters are not voters, let's just say that's 100,000 people, bro. That's 100,000. That's one person.
Oh, no. Don't even do 100. You're going too high.
Go
50,000.
Let's say 50,000, right? Then
that makes the difference.
Then add another 25,000 because half of them have women or men in their life, and most likely they ain't voting. So now you get 75,000. 75,000 people and Trump only lost by 20,000.
Right. In this state, in here, Wisconsin, national elections are decided by approximately, give or take, 20,000 votes.
Now tell me this, Ed. How many
Yes, sir.
snowmobilers and ATV riders are not registered voters?
You know what? I live in a very rural community, and there's a lot of people that just don't give two fucks about politics. They just want to do what they're gonna do,
So again,
and it doesn't matter if it's riding horseback, ATV, snowmobile.
how many
None of that
how many
matters.
fishing licenses do we have that are not registered voters?
The better question is how many fishing licenses are down this year over last year?
I'm with you there.
How many hunting tags are down over
I'm
last
with you with
year?
the tags and the number. I'm just asking how many who are not registered to vote. So again,
Yeah.
my argument is we fixate so much on Black and Latino outreach and moderate Democrats. Wait a minute, or independents. Wait a minute. You have people who already think like you, and all you got to do is to motivate them. How many cars are registered in the state of Wisconsin to race at the flat tracks? Also, motorcycles
Or a slinger.
at Slinger who are not registered, those same licenses to those vehicles under the name of those drivers who drive that. How many of them are not registered voters? While we're looking at trying to, where do you go to register voters? Where do you go to ballot harvest? I got a few ideas where you go to get registered voters, to get some people registered. I got a few ideas where I would go to pick up ballots if I had a central pickup point. I got a few ideas.
The whole, register voter is bank your vote, everything. It's God, that's such a conversation I want to have. And I reached out the other night to RPW Chairman Brian Shemming, and I'm gonna have him on the show. I want to have him on here because the bank the vote, it does make sense. So they don't have to. I've got so much stuff from RPW, and you know what? Totally get it. I don't know if I'm going to do it, but I know for me personally, election day, I want to be there at the poll. But that's me. But for most people, though, they're very different. Maybe they do need to do, early voting. Here we are right before the, Wisconsin primary. If you guys are out there and you don't know if you can make it April 2nd, definitely go out there and do your early voting. Talk to your county clerk. Figure it out.
Brother Ed, my last closing is that I hope I end this.
I was going to say, we are getting to that
Right,
point
I gotta
where
go
it's
to
like,
all of the I end with this. Let's ask the question. All those votes that we have on the table, while you're trying to fight uphill battle and trying to convince people who think you are categorically a racist people, and this country is a good country.
Why you gotta say that?
Why are you trying to convince them so much, and you leave 40% of voters, 40% of hunters, 40% of race car drivers, 40% of fishermen? You leave them totally untapped.
You do that race element in there, it's like, damn, we get.
I'm just saying.
Do you realize that? I'm just saying. Do you realize we have like not just a 3-hour show, a 4 or 5 hour show? Do you realize how in depth we can go on this? And here's why I like to have the conversation with you versus the Instagram folk, because you know what? It's balanced. The Instagram folk, they give you false narratives. And it's weak. I was saying, those cats on Instagram that throw out, liberals, left of center, they give you a weak narrative based upon what? A social media post they saw. That's what they give us. It's garbage out there. The sad part is, though, the average person will buy into that. Am I wrong about that?
You're not wrong, Brother Ed. I'll let you go, man. Let's connect the next.
Yeah.
Days. I'm gonna sign off. Always a pleasure. I'll listen to your rap.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Have a good night, brother. All right, so we had Orlando Owens here, and if you want to follow him, go to his website, orlando4wi.com. We're closed out here tonight, and man, this Tuesday, Super Tuesday, make sure you check out, Tim Pool over here on YouTube. They're going to be doing a quote unquote Super Tuesday show. It's going to be interesting, but Nikki Haley winning Washington D.C. All your resistance to D.C. will be out here come tomorrow. Is she going to highlight this as something more than what it really is? I think she will. But is she really in contention for the Republican primary? I do not think so. So we'll see where this goes. And until then, I will check in with you guys tomorrow night, 7 p.m. Central Standard Time. We'll be talking to Milwaukee County Republican Party Chairman Hilario De Leon. Good night. God bless you. God bless the state of Wisconsin. God bless the USA. I'm out.